They see the bag is coming out, they flocking to me like I won the lotto. Dancing with the devil, there's no recital. I'm killing competition, ain't no revival. I shoot it to kill it, I'm aiming for vitals. I'm showing no mercy when facing my rivals. Snakes in the grass, they getting exposed. I know they be lurking, I'm watching them close. Acting like friends, but really they foes. Thought they was scheming and said adios. Yeah, I gotta get it. My enemies. I gotta get it, the mindset. I gotta get it, the mindset. Hey, back with a vengeance, back on the grinds, back to the business. Hey, God is my witness, they watching my moves like shows they binging. Hey, best keep distance, all of my haters send best of wishes. I get to the bag with the quickness, no I don't need no assistance, no. Yeah, no playing it safe, I said let's get it, you say not today. What can I say, you ain't gon' go for it, get out the way. Yeah, got no time to waste, can't be with me if you not at my pace. You not at my level, you not in my race. One foot on the gas, I'm pushing the brakes. Dancing with the devil, there's no recital. I'm killing competition, ain't no revival. I shoot it to kill it, I'm aiming for vitals. I'm showing no mercy when facing my rivals. Snakes in the grass, they getting exposed. I know they be lurking, I'm watching them close. Acting like friends, but really they foes. Thought they was scheming and said adios. Yeah, I gotta get it. My enemies. I gotta get it, the mindset. I gotta get it, the mindset. I gotta get it, the mindset.
It's been a wild year of multi-class madness for the BMW M SIM Cup, but today here in the land of the rising sun, it all comes to a close. Welcome to the season finale of the 2023 BMW M SIM Cup. Delighted to have your company once again here on RaceSpotTV and on the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by Lewis McLeod, and do not forget you can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to timing.RaceSpotTV over the course of tonight's entertainment. It's been a long season, Lewis, and in some ways, yes, it's a bit sad that after this we don't have BMW Sim Live to look forward to, but what a wild season we've had in this BMW M SIM Cup.
We've been through the wars a little bit. We've had some exciting driving. We've had some exciting races in all of this, but all comes down to Suzuka. We've visited some of the best circuits on the planet. Obviously, started at Sebring. Started at Daytona, went to Sebring. Love a little bit of Sebring. Love a bit of Road America as well. Obviously, everyone likes Spa. Road Atlanta, one of the best circuits on the planet. Last round was a little bit different at Zandvoort, mostly courtesy of the IMSA Esports Championship happening in the evening. So we had slightly different grid than what we normally would, but it's kind of back to normal for the season finale. And very curious to see how this one's going to unfold.
Yeah, no, you mentioned, of course, Zandvoort being the slight oddball round that we've seen over the course of the season. But that was also the TBA round. For so long in the championship, drivers were unsure where they were going to go racing. And when they found out it was on the high banks in the Dutch dunes, it was quite an interesting race, even with the slightly smaller field that we did end up seeing. Of course, we started later in the year than we traditionally do in February rather than in January. But it's been a lot of fun introducing the BMW M Hybrid V8 alongside the BMW M4 GT3 for two classes of racing with the same format that everyone really knows. 2 hours of racing, a mandatory driver change, but outside of that, it's all basically a free-for-all. 25 points for a victory. The fastest race lap garners a driver a bonus point as well. We'll touch on that a bit more when we get to the championship standings. But of course, Lewis, we're talking about paying out just under $50,000 across our 10 races.
Yeah, of course, you can see we've got that per race prize. That's what everyone's really coming out here aiming for. Even if you're not involved in the championship, you can still take home a grand for taking the victory, and that's between each of the classes. So obviously you get that in the LMDh, you get that in the GT3 as well. So that's fantastic to see. But then of course there is the season prize, where the top 12 get their a fair share of that prize pool as well, and that's based on the drivers' standings, not from the team side.
And so let's go and talk through some of the driver standings then, with so many of the races done, just 2 hours of racing left to go. And in both of our championships, we basically know who's at the top. The question is, are we going to see ties? That's going to all be down to fastest laps. Dominic Hoffman, Danny Lorenzo have been a mighty pairing over the course of the season. It's just one fastest lap, and I think one fastest lap in our previous round at Zandvoort that has split them by the 1 point as they try and determine who will be our champion for 2023.
Yeah, indeed. Like you say, I think that bonus point, by the way, for Dom Hoffman did come in the previous round. I remember talking about that a little bit as to what's actually separated them in the driver championship. But those two being a part of the same team, it is between those two. No one else being a part of it. It showed the performance they've had. But on the GT3 side as well, it's kind of a similar sort of story, slightly less dominant, but it is Team Redline basically in control over there.
It is, and I've just got a message through, actually, as we take a look at the GT3 standings, that Lallem and Pinto separated by the 1 point there as well. No worries about Luca Kita, Ollie Steinbraten closing them down, with the win being, of course, worth 25 points. They are going to be prioritizing, Lewis, the fastest lap for Diogo. They want to make sure Chris and Diogo sign off 2023 as co-champions. They'll go to the stretch and to the extent of, at the end of the race, if they haven't got the fastest lap, they'll come in, take a pit stop, and put out Diogo on low fuel and fresh tires.
I kind of like that. I like the it's wholesome, isn't it? To see them as a team. They're like, right, no, we're the ones that have dominated the season, so to speak. So we would like to end the season on a high together. Which I quite like. And to be fair, they've got the room in the champion to deal with it, because again, it's just those two involved in it. So it's literally just Diogo who has to score that single point.
Although, like you mentioned, it's not been such a dominant category like in the LMDHs, where Urano has been by far the strongest team. Yes, Redline have had so many wins. You see that stretch where they had 5 wins in a row after missing out on a victory in the opening round of the season. But yeah, GT3's Lewis has been a little bit more wild and open.
Yeah, like I say, yes, it has really been Team Redline. Urano taking that amazing first victory, but outside of that, Team Redline have shown themselves, but they've kind of split the wins between each class. Obviously, they did win from round 2 to round 7, but it was split between Chris Lallem, Diogo Pinto Cairo had 4 of those victories, and then Ola Steinbraten and Gianni Vecchio had a further 3. To be fair, Ola Steinbraten is battling for a little extra money in the championship as well. If they can beat the Urano Esports HP car, then there is extra prize money for him, and even maybe more so for Gianni Vecchio as well, if they can get him to outscore courtesy of where the points are.
That's not a bad point, actually, when you think about it in that way. These drivers still have a little bit of time, though, to go in this particular qualifying session. Let's take a look at the track, though, Lewis, because it's a fun one, and we've had a fair share of history here in the BMW M SIM GT Cup.
Yeah, obviously you can see that run down into the first corner, incredibly downhill, caused its fair share of drama. We've spoken about it a few times, we'll bring it up once more. Joshua Rogers, Max Verstappen made contact in that corner a couple of years ago when battling for the win when we were racing in the M8s and the GTEs. You got that run through the S's section, the right up to the hairpin, going through Spoon. It's fantastic, it's historic, it's brilliant, it's breathtaking. It's one of the best circuits on the planet.
Well, look at all of those adjectives that you're throwing in there, Lewis. Big English.
Big English. I will say there is one disappointing thing around the circuit, though. It doesn't look like there's as many golf courses as there are at Fuji. We were discussing that a little bit in the 8 hour. I think I counted in sort of like a 4 or 5 kilometer radius of Fuji. There was more than 25 golf courses.
Interesting.
Which is wild. Less so here. I think they're not quite as golfy.
Yeah, I don't think they are quite as golfy. That is not to say that they are not golfy. It is one of those tracks, though, Lewis, well, let's be real. It's just a classic. Everybody knows what they need to do around this track.
Yeah, and we're not actually going to talk about golf all day, don't worry. Everyone's like panicking on the edge of their seat, but like, please don't do it again. No, we're not, I promise. But yeah, no, around here, because it's a circuit that they've driven a fair amount, like even, particularly in the GT3s, they'll have driven it a lot. In the LMDhs, less so. It could be awkward for some of these drivers in the LMDHs. Yeah, the bit of lap traffic is always going to be the problem. But because they've driven the circuit so much, you've already kind of got like a vibe and an understanding as to how to take to the circuit and how to get yourself involved in the balance. Just to give you an update, by the way, got about 30 seconds left of qualifying, and our junior's trying to sort this out, so I'm trying to give you a bit of a breather here, mate. But I will tell you, it's Team Redline 1-2 in the GT3 category, and it's Williams Esports Chill Blast on top in LMDh.
Yeah, no, we are having some technical issues behind the scenes, which always makes things fun. But yeah, the qualifying session is drawing to a close, and we did expect it to be a close one. The margins are what always make it so interesting, though. Half a tenth of a second between the top two, a tenth of a second between the top three in the LMDh class and the GT3s. It's a little bit more wide open, but we'll have to wait and see how it all plays itself out. What are your expectations for today then, Lewis, as we get set and get ready to rumble?
Well, I think there are going to be some pretty disappointed people through traffic because that is always going to cause a problem in the S section. I do think Team Redline are almost certainly going to take a victory in the GT3s. I don't know which one though. They've got 4 cars out there. We can discuss that in a little bit. And I'll give you my prediction as well for a winner in the LMDh. I'm actually not going to go Urano, right? Which kind of feels a little wild, even though they always seem to win. I'm feeling a little bit of Apex madness in this. And yes, I want a t-shirt.
Too bad. You still have to wait. Let's see if we can run you down very quickly, though, through the starting grid, because it will be Jaden Munos in that Williams Esports Chill Blast to lead us to the green, alongside Peter Berryman in the Apex Racing Team machine. Josh Ladd for Williams Esports Marla has Eduardo Leo in the Altus Esports car for company, while Danny Lorenzo searching for fastest lap supremacy alongside Dominic Hoffman, and will line up inside of Race Clutch and Kyo Thiago Marteau. 7th will go the way of Vlad Kimichev, Matteo Frigero for the second Race Clutch car on the outside of the 4th row, while Pedro Sanchez Albert will be alongside Christian Hildegard for the Salak Racing Team on the edge of the top 10. It's Danny Chivi-Shabo and Archie Kovany for the RD Simsport crews that are on the 6th row, with Mivano, TC Corsa, Old Fox Racing, V10R, and then Drago and the Ruckner Racing teams rounding out the rest of the LMDh starting grid. Over to the GT3s, where Chris Lullum, Enzo Benito for Team Redline will be at the front, with Drago Racing and Urano Esports HB behind them. Urano Esports Hiking Media and Team Redline with Cooper Webster sharing now over, of course, from the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing crew lining up alongside with an Apex Racing Team, and then the bright green of Williams Esports Razor on the 4th row. Steinbratten and Hilayo for Redline and Grid and Go on the 5th row, with Arnage and German SimRacing.de 11th and 12th positions. Hopefully not unlucky 13th for Team Red X, with Stan Motor alongside another Team Red X car, and then V10R Academy, RMS BMW Logitech, and the BS Demon car having some work to do. Phil Denez breaks out what is a classic for the Zebra squad as the field, perfect timing, gets ready to roll themselves away. Lewis, it's an interesting field that gets ready to go for the final 2-hour dash of 2023.
Yeah, got to say, to give a little bit of an understanding as to why Phil Denez is back down the order, I think you might have seen his time. Everyone sat at home. He set a 2-minute 26 in that qualifying session. That's because he did the outlap and the warm-up lap, and then did not set a proper time lap on the second one. So that's why he's not actually up there involved. But I would expect that BS Demon car to cut through the order, definitely through the drama of the day.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. But of course, championships are decided. There's bragging rights up for grabs, and in terms of the championships itself, there are drivers trying to figure some things out. Ready to go for the final time in the 2023 BMW M SIM Cup. It's Williams Esports Chill Blast on the front row. They're alongside with the Apex Racing Team as we get the green flag out in the land of the rising sun. And look at that coordination between the pair of the Williams Esports LMDHs. The BMW M Hybrids fan out into the opening corner, but it's Munos from Ladd, and there's big drama already. Whoa. That's a huge one. Melgar tripped up in that one along with Peter Berryman. Not sure what's happened to them all there, but Lewis, here come the GT3s as well.
Yeah, are these going to be any cleaner? That was a little bit messy in the in our top category in the LMDHs. You can still see the smokes lingering over. They work their way through slightly more single file than what we saw, so no major dramas to be added to the list. But yeah, wow, what an opening corner and an opening complex. Unfortunately for Vlad Kimichev, who's the one that's really paid the price. He's not even that far ahead of the GT3s.
Here come the GTP LMDHs up towards that famed hairpin where so many sends can be sent. Not going to see too many on the opening lap, but having said that, instantly Pedro Sanchez Albert up the inside of the RD Simsport car, and Old Fox Racing off the road. More drama for those BMW M Hybrid V8s.
Yeah, Shumilov going out wide there. Don't know if that was totally assisted in there. I'm going to say it probably was, and having a little bit of a look. Do you know who it was? It was our championship leaders making the contact on the inside at T1. So it was Daniel Alves Lorenzo behind the wheel that made that contact. it's obviously not really a major. They've already won the championship effectively. It's just between the pair of them.
Let's not forget, though, we do have live race control, so who knows what they will say and have to intervene with that. So as the GT3s head out through Spoon Curve, back over to the front of the LMDh field, where it is going to be the Williams Esports pair that lead us towards the line. And I've got to say, coordination on the start, they played that to perfection.
Yeah, wonderful start. Like I say, pulling out comfortably clear. I'm still going with it, but I did kind of curse Apex in that, so they're not a part of the fight anymore because they're definitely a retirement from the race. But got to say, Race Clutch have picked their way through fairly well. But at the moment, it's Williams comfortably in control. But we know if there's one thing to judge about this, it's do not count out a team like Urano, because when it comes to strategic play, they are by far the best.
Yeah, strategy has been a wild game as well in these prototypes as a whole. Vlad Kimichev as well as Peter Berryman, by the way, going to drop down the timing orders on the left side of the screen. Slightly further back in that GTP pack, you can just see how chocked up it is. Danny Chivishabo's up a remarkable 5 positions, but the RD SimSport team, as well as TC Corsa behind, also up 7 positions respectively, as back towards the hairpin they come. Your GT3s in relative calm right now, still waiting for the traffic to come and overlap.
Yeah, as soon as they work their way through, to give you a bit of an update, obviously we're seeing these going through the exit, the S's, you can see there in the bottom right, going through Spoon Curve is Jaden Munos. So that's where our leader in the LMDh category is. Probably be a couple of laps before we see them. I think there's been a bit of drama behind, though, and I'm not 100% sure who it was. They dropped down the order very quickly.
I see RD SimSport has dropped down the order, and now as the Drago Racing 696 heads up the inside and towards 130R. Let's not go side by side through here too many times today. They will get through here safely, but don't forget there's that curb on the outside which you got to watch out as well. Still slow as that 125, and Satellite Racing through as well.
Very nice move from Satellite. Christian Hildegard behind the wheel. Just well judged to have picked that one up on the exit of the Cassier Triangle. Like you say, a couple of struggles, but then check this out on the race down into the first corner. Couple of looks straight down the inside. There's going to be a touch, a look, and I think that might be the move for, is that Urano? No, sorry, it's Race Clutch working their way through, so solid effort there.
Now, okay, Urano are down on pit lane with one of their cars. Danny Lorenzo's in the black and red behind. But did they not think that, we've got this brand new white and black livery that we could use instead of the red and black to not confuse the commentators? Yes, I know we're only 5 minutes in, but I'm going there.
Let's start complaining, because we were on board there with a red and black car that was behind a black and red car that was behind a white, black and red car that was behind a red and black car, and none of them are a part of the same team.
And we're
How
on board
confusing is that?
And we're on board with another red and black car right now.
Yeah, it's so confusing. Can we give a little bit of a shout, by the way, to Race Clutch? By the way, because remember the round they had, obviously the last round of the IMSA Esports. No, it's not in the BMW, it was in the Acura. But the last round they had in the IMSA Esports Championship. Race Clutch seemed to be kind of coming a little bit into this car, just a touch, like figuring things out behind the scenes with speed, hopefully with strategy as well. They seem to be piecing things together. Yeah,
it's funny you say strategy. I just remembered how many times this season, Lewis, we've seen drivers run out of fuel in the BMW M SIM Cup. It's not something that is uncommon by any means, and don't forget, by the way, timing is back up. We just have been working on those technical issues behind the scenes. Head on to timing.RaceSpotTV if you want to follow along with your favorite team and drivers today. Now that those technical issues are hopefully behind us as well, it means we can go back and take a look at the start, and in my case in particular, actually watch what was happening, because I was frantically searching behind the scenes. Well, Berryman's already off,
ahead, yeah.
But we went 3 wide without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I think where we saw some fairly decent ideas and moves in the GT3s, we did not see it in here. So Berryman just gets absolutely slapped on the rear. And I think that kind of sets off a little bit, but then there's already 3 wide behind.
That was Altus, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
So this is the onboard with Eduardo Leo.
Oh yeah, straight in the back of it.
I mean,
off. That's silly.
And
you know it's going to be slow down there.
Well, the concertina effect is what I think catches everyone out, because you couldn't realistically expect it to then be that bad.
No, but I think everything behind, right, you kind of like, okay, fair enough. There was a bit of 3 wide in there. It was a little silly, but nothing too major. But that move from Leo, that was pretty silly. Yeah, you could see that Berryman was on a tight line into the first corner. Cold tyre, etc. It's going to be a little slower. Let's see what happens. This is keep your eye on Daniel Alves Lorenzo in that Urano car, trying to go for a gap, which kind of isn't there. It's kind of one of those ones where you're looking at it being like, it's not that bad, but he just half committed for a move. And what do we always say about half committed moves? Well, they never work out very well.
Oh, that doesn't work out well for the Team Red X car. I will say, race control is probably going to take a look at that bit of moments for the Urano car, so just keep that in mind. And talking of curbs, that's what happens with them if you're not careful. We saw this plenty on Monday night in the Lionheart Sports Car Series, both at Spoon and through 130R, so drivers will have to keep that in mind, and that's why RD SimSport was so slow. Yeah,
it makes sense. I thought they'd drop back like a few positions quite quickly as we see a couple of darts through traffic. This is not the major part of the traffic, just a couple of drivers a bit further down than where we expect, but you can see how much that snake is closing in on the traffic that's currently working its way through the hairpin and out towards Spoon. Are we going to commit to calling it the Kobayashi hairpin, brother?
I mean, I've been calling it that for
quite a while. Which I like. I think I'm all over that.
I'm of the opinion that we should have the power to name corners anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And number them too, but that's separate, you know.
Well, I still maintain that I think in the future we should make our own track maps and number the corners ourselves, and as long as we agree, and we can revolutionise the world of corner numbering, Arjuna. Mostly out of complaints for the last 2 years.
Is this how we're getting our Nobel Prize?
I think so. Yeah, like I don't know which part. I think there's a little bit to ask for. It's the Peace Prize because it's calming us down.
Right,
so there's that. Physics because we can count and people can't. So
I mean that seems more like math than physics. You know.
Well, I mean they had to build it.
That is true. That is very true.
And the people that built it didn't number it correctly, and they were physically there. I don't know. I don't understand science.
You're making a stretch with your English right now as well.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back and take a look at, I think you talked about the bits of moments with traffic. Is that BS competition? Oh, that's a stand motor BMW. That's what I know for sure.
Yeah, you got to say. I want to see this again. So let's take a look. Is it the BS competition one? It's very hard to tell.
It's an Apex car, isn't it?
It's kind of one of those ones I'm looking at. I think I'd actually lean a little bit more on the stand motor car, at least from that distant angle, because it seemed that they turned in whilst the car was there. And from the first angle, I was a little bit concerned the LMDh coming through might have squeezed a little bit too much. But then from the other angle, it kind of doesn't look like that's the case at all.
No, so that's why as well, perspectives from different camera angles can kind of guide your view on an incident, so that's something you always just have to keep in mind. So we got through 10 minutes of the race, we've taken a look at some replays, and now we are really starting to get into the traffic. It will take a lap or so before we're into the real heart of it, but it's going to start being quite frenetic. And Williams Esports 1 and 2, Race Clutch now in third as a result of all of the drama that we've had. BS Competition fourth, and Apex in the 198 with Danny Shivishaba. Hopefully no damage on his car after getting past that stand motor BMW. But yeah, this is when we'll start to see those differences in traffic.
Yeah, obviously my hopes of an Apex Racing victory, only because I've called it that, no bias or anything like that. I called it an Apex Racing victory. It now rests in the hands of Soholm and Sivishabo, so deliver, please. And they're all kind of ahead of this battle here, again, between all of the red and black cars that money can buy, and it's going to get sketchy. We're definitely going to get some too wide up to 130R here. I'm not liking this.
I mean, too wide on entry. They decide discretion the better part of valor, and the RMS BMW GT3 car says, get me out of here, I'll run myself a little bit wide. It actually separates up the three initial cars from Drago, Satellite, and Altus and Eduardo Leo, trying to recover after the opening lap tumble that they all had. But this is a pretty crazy fight. They've already lost about 8 seconds to your leader. Especially important given that it's Williams Esports 1 and 2, and they haven't fought so much today, something that we did see over at Zandvoort as well.
Yeah, exactly, and like I say, I think they feel a little bit hard done by with the Zandvoort race, because they were very much in contention and things kind of fell apart, mostly courtesy of the amazing strategy once again from Urano. just trying to piece their way through all of this bit by bit, nice and calmly. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Williams here. It's just ticking off the corners, though. I will say Race Clutch very much back a part of this, as is the 89 BS competition car, as they've worked their way through traffic for the first time. But look at that gap that's been pulled out by Jaden Munos on Josh Ladd.
All it takes is one little break in the traffic, especially given that that was bumper cars there for a second. The S's in particular can be such a chokehold, and you might try and go 2x2, but it's not necessarily the wisest thing. These drivers up the inside of Spoon, that was a bit of a desperation send from Josh Ladd, and then another one to get up the inside of Ollie Steinbraten in the third of the red line BMWs, because boy have they shown up with strength in numbers, and now almost done with the first cycle of traffic.
Yeah, whopping 4 cars at the moment for Team Redline. I think they're looking at this being like, yeah, if we could get a fastest lap for a certain Diego Pinto, and also, why don't we finish 1, 2, 3, and 4? Let's give that a go this afternoon. It's going to be a tall order for them, but to be fair, I wouldn't rule that out from the team. Oh my goodness, I've just seen nearly an instant on my other screen. It's very scary as well. It's all the fear factor of seeing these go through traffic. They're dodging crashes by millimetres every single time they go past a car.
Can I guess what it was? Was it BS Competition and the Apex Racing team a little bit close? No? No,
it wasn't. It was actually Arnage and Urana. But yeah, we'll see this one with the Apex Racing team diving it down the inside. It was very close.
That's also very close, to be fair.
There was contact. There was definitely contact.
I mean, this first cycle through of traffic is always the craziest. It's always the most intense, and it's allowed. And that separation up towards the front, it's 1.7 seconds that Jaden Munos now does have over Josh Ladd. Race Clutch have lost some time as well. We watch as BS Competition feel the heat from Danny Shivishabo. Lewis doesn't have a shirt, but you best believe I do.
Yeah, I've recently received an email from the Apex Racing team that my application to the team is it's officially rejected.
Took them long enough.
So anyway, I really like Williams Esports now, or BS Competition.
Do you have a Williams Esports shirt?
I do have a Williams Esports shirt.
Javi, can you send me one, please?
I've got a t-shirt and I've got a jumper.
Wow, that is
I've stolen my fair share, and I will try and steal more next week.
I've just realised what I'm wearing. We won't go there. Everyone
have you got a BS Turner top? I saw you in your BS Turner. I thought you had that on last night and you were getting a taco.
It is 5 o'clock in the morning here, Lewis.
Oh, yeah, no, fair enough. Touche. I'll back out on that one.
You imply that I've changed the shirt that I was wearing at lunch yesterday. Yes, I'm still wearing my delightful BS Turner shirt, which maybe means I have to have tacos again today for lunch.
Oh, no. Well,
they're the worst thing in the world to happen.
That's true, but right now you need BS to start looking a little bit stronger in this race, because they're coming under a lot of pressure in that battle for 4th position. This is obviously down in the GT3 category with Phil Denez working his way up the order from the rear of the field. He's only on +6, but to be fair, I think he's probably just ticking them off bit by bit. Yeah,
I must say as well, you don't get to see the right side of this car, but what a wonderful tribute this is. Of course, BS Competition have a Japanese driver in their stable who races in the real world. I forget the name off the top of my head, so I don't want to throw myself under the bus, but well, just look at that. That is amazing.
It's a piece of art, I will say that. I'm not... If this was like a full season livery, like it would be there for every single round, I would like it a lot less.
Right.
I'd still be like, oh my god, it looks so pretty and it's a piece of art, but I'm kind of like, I wouldn't be as into it as it being like a normal livery. But when you have a special round, I feel like if you have a special round and you bring out a special livery, that kind of is carte blanche to basically do whatever you want with the livery. And I've got to say, I love that. I think that looks absolutely fantastic as we look back up to TC Corsa and the battle behind with Movano trying to work their way past.
That was not too bad. I quite enjoyed that. If you're just joining us, by the way, first time part of the BMW M SIM Cup, this is the 10th and final round. We've had 9 previous races, 2 classes of competition, and our champions are effectively already crowned in Urano Esports, Dominic Hoffman, Danny Lorenzo in the LMDh, Diego Pinto and Chris Lullum in the GT3s, but they're all fighting just to figure out how they'll finish off in the championship. Big jink back to the inside from Fraser Williamson, but the Scot maybe misunderstood there by Hayata Asaga as they scramble off for the corner. Hybrid spools up, and guess who joins the front? Oh, it's Danny Lorenzo just behind.
I thought he might have been closer. If he was, I genuinely reckon he might have actually got a better drive off the corner and might have cleared the pair of them. Once again, jinking one way and then back the other. This is getting like a very sketchy fight between the pair of them. So a little bit further down the order, all for 6th place. The look down the inside now coming in from our championship leaders and the champion-elect, and just trying to work their way past all of this. Of course, I say champion-elect, more Dominic Hoffman is the champion-elect, really, because he's the one with the extra point of the bonus point he got back in Zandvoort. Yeah,
exactly. Danny Lorenzo is champion unelect right now.
Sort of. Yeah, it's very confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, something that maybe for next year we can clarify slightly. The rulebook didn't help when it said, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not quoting, that in the case of a tie, it's basically up to the organizers to figure out what breaks the tie. And
okay.
Urano may have one penalty, they may have another, because poor Fraser Williamson has been turfed off at the same point that Urano had that contact before.
And you would think, if you'd done the incident before in the race, you'd think you'd probably avoid leaving your nose on the inside into the hairpin in future, but no. It's kind of like we're maybe being a little bit harsh here, or maybe I am anyway. But you got to say, like, they've had a near perfect season, pretty much all the way through the championship. This car has been running to perfection. We're seeing the season finale. Maybe like they're calming down, they're relaxing a little bit, and things are getting a little silly. There is a netco, there is a bit of space between the pair of them. But it's that kind of like half-hearted lunge into a really tricky corner.
Was it really needed? I mean, he comes from quite far back as well. That's the other thing. It's not like he's alongside under braking. We're getting very technical now with talking about the moves. But yeah, I think Danny's probably going to look back on it with his own view on it. Here's a look at Race Clutch in the 14, by the way, who get on the curb, loop the back end around. But that's misfortune that adds to more misfortune for Race Clutch, because Matteo Frigiero, the number 6, technical issues, they're out of the race.
Yeah, it's a big shame. Again, we don't believe in the commentators' curse. Well, I don't. But
I do.
Talking up the commentators' curse. No, actually, no. I had a bet with Ewan last night. We were doing a race, commentating on a race at Macau.
Okay.
And it's a 40-minute race. 10 minutes into the race, it was a top 10 reverse grid. Once the grid had kind of like worked its way into their positions, where like the people would work their way through, some people would work their way through from 10th up to first. I said, half an hour away from the checkered flag, those two are going to win. And if they do, if they finish first and they finish second, we have to throw the commentator's curse in the bin.
Okay.
And they finished first and second. Thus, it's complete rubbish.
I mean, I wasn't there. I never agreed to throw out the commentator's curse, so I can speak for yourself. All right.
If Redline, I don't want to say the 20 because I feel like it's a little.
You're not getting a Redline shirt if you commentators curse them.
Well, look, I mean, they've already won the championship. Who cares? As here comes a look down the inside from Lorenzo. Finally gets a move done. Third time was the charm when it comes to making the move, and that one cleanly. But now into the position of 6th. That is scary.
That was Eduardo Leo again. It's hard to tell because Altus no paint on their car, but BMW factory livery already has a 20-second penalty for the contact through turn 1. You won't be maybe surprised to hear, but here comes Arturo Melgar trying to get back underneath.
Okay, if the 20 or the 17, again, I don't want to say the 20 because they might make an extra pit stop, right? Because that's a bit, whatever. If Team Redline win the GT3s, you have to throw an hour and 40 minutes. An hour and 40 minutes.
They have 4 cars, Lewis. Flag. We'd have to curse 4 cars for that to have a solid chance. Those are not fair odds.
Oh! No. No. Oh God, you're almost making me very angry. Oh my goodness! No,
just to be clear, I don't actually believe in a commentator's curse. It's just very interesting to wind Lewis up this much as traffic once more. Altus around the outside of TC Corsa, by the way. That's a bold place to make a pass happen. But yes, no commentator's curse, please, for Redline, because I'd like a shirt as well. As 4-car fight still for 7th spot, but as Urano and now Altus have got themselves some separation.
Yeah, if Team Redline, if you are doing a little watch along, if you're listening into this stream, if you could take an extra, either a large or an extra large shirt to all the way to Sweden, please. I'll pick that one up over there. Just saying. Also, make a note of when this was so I can clip it and put it on social media. So again, we're making sure they don't miss it.
Yes, no.
Obviously, this is the I'm looking out for the important bit here, numero uno.
Exactly.
But either way, the race is it's like I say, it's fairly exciting. Not for the race league because Williams have checked out. as has Team Redline in the GT3 category. But right now, yeah, Williams are in control, but all this behind is pretty crazy.
You say in control, yes.
Are they burning too much fuel?
But Munos and Ladd are increasingly coming back together, and as another dive back up the inside of turn 1, and Melgar gives the hip check to Hayata Asaga. Here comes Hildegard in the Dr. Dabber for Dr. Dabber BMW, and that's more contact, and I've got to say, poor Asaga, not much he could do there.
No, to be fair, not really much either of them could have done there, because I do actually think that there was a good amount of room being given from Christian Hildegard. It was just about right, but I do think there was a little bit of air between them when they made contact. And when you're going through that section, you are talking like millimetres between them. I think it was more like, you know, a foot and a bit between them. But yeah, just a slight bit of contact, or you know, air and such. I don't know. It was a rough one. This was a brilliant move, by the way.
It was a late release of the brake, is what I will say.
It was brave.
I will let Race Control make their determination on everything, and then, yeah, there's just a healthy dose of air and netco between the two. Not much either could have done differently, and Hildegard gets on through. Asaga drops back, but fortunately, the TC Corsa machine has shown itself quite strong over the course of the day. You mentioned Redline have broken away, not just Lullen, but Benito as well. It's a fight for third, where Luca Kita, Ricardo Rico, and, well, Cooper Webster run third, fourth, and fifth. It does feel a little bit weird seeing Cooper Webster in a Redline machine. Team
Redline, yeah. Of course, this recent merger between the Red Bull Racing esports camp, the Oracle Red Bull Racing esports, and Team Redline is a bit odd to see Cooper Webster behind them. But to be fair, you know, what a fit. Yeah, we know that the Red Bull camp has been has had incredible talent, and I think, to be fair, as a driver in the Red Bull camp, this is fantastic. You get to join, you know, one of the best teams, if not the best team, in sim racing. You know, there's a lot more at your disposal. Does mean maybe on occasion you're fighting a little bit more for an appearance, basically. Yeah, to get in the starters lineup, so to speak. But Cooper Webster on an occasion like this, you know, when you can have as many cars as you really want, having fours, fine. There's a bit of a move to the inside from Cooper Webster again, maybe a little bit half-hearted, but does get the door open from Drago Racing. I've got to say, Drago did read that one quite nicely and were very accommodating.
Hey, it's called the Kobayashi hairpin for a reason, because of moves like that. I think Sotomuto did a similar sort of move as well. That would be quite popular as the traffic closes up once more. There, I think, is Jaden Munos, the first of the LMDHs that they'll have to deal with, who half-heartedly looks up the inside through Spoon, and that's going to check him up, and that gap suddenly for the race lead goes from 2.5 seconds to 1 second, and that's how quick things can change.
Yeah, like you say, awkward bits through traffic, and it does close down a fair amount. You can see the Marla car just to the rear again. It's Williams this time. The Marla, it's very confusing, but still, it's the Williams one this time. How have we had this problem for 2 years?
Because they are so in love with one another. Marla, Williams, BS competition, that they just can't stop it.
Can we have, like... that was
sorry.
Scary, Drago. Goodness me, that was very scary. That I was looking at being like, that's going to be a crash, it's going to be a crash, it's going to be a crash. Obviously, the GT3 was just kind of going on its own line, see if there's going to be the big commitment. Yes, there is. Just to clear the last little bits of traffic from the third-placed car on the road. Just a couple more for them to clear before they're at the head of the field of the GT3. So this one could be quite nice. Although you can see there, just getting a little delayed was the Chill Blast car being driven by Jaden Munos. And of course, Josh Ladd now working his way around the outside. Yeah, what we need to do is, I'm obviously I understand for a brand, and it's great for the teams that Marla's jumping between the two, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other, and it's great to have a representative of a brand. All this, fantastic. What we need though is we need a Williams BS Marla crossover. That needs to be the one that brings the two teams together, just for one car, not in its entirety. We don't need another merger in the world of sim racing, but just those two, bang, together for a race.
So what you're saying is we need Williams competition or BS plus. I'm trying to.
I've actually I joke about this, but actually in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship, we did actually have a BS Williams.
Did we?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was 20. I want to say it was 2021.
Okay.
I can't remember who was driving. I know it's Peter Belyak who was coming in from the Williams side. I don't know who was represented from the BS side, but it was a crossover because they didn't want to have 4 cars.
Interesting. That is.
I'm going to have to go look this up now.
Yeah, now you've got me very, very curious as well. I just want to go back as well to the moment through traffic because, oh boy, Lewis. Yeah. outside of the final corner is a scary place to be. How many drivers by themselves in qualifying in Formula One have found themselves in that wall on the outside?
Yeah, it's like I say, that's a sketchy one. That's a risky one to try. We'll see it once again on board with Josh Ladd. And like I say, the thing is, if you were to like pause it here, you kind of like look at the amount of space on the inside, and you kind of go, why would you go to the outside? A satellite have come into the pit lane. Interesting.
That's early.
Very early. Is that with damage?
It could be damage, but I wonder if this is just maybe strategy because of how, let's be honest, how hectic that battle that they are a part of really is.
Oh, also, by the way, BS Williams ended up third in the championship, and it was with Peter Beliak and Mohamed Patel.
Oh, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, indeed. And also, hilariously enough, you know the Burst esports team,
yes,
obviously. So for the final round, they had Damien Scovron, who is a Burst driver. So that's very confusing.
Oh, wow.
It's a Burst. It's a BS Burst Williams.
Right.
Crossover. Very confusing. The livery was actually pretty good. I remember. I've actually got photographs on there.
Interesting. Ollie Steinbratten gets past Max Scudino. This is the fourth and final of the red line cars, now up into 8th position. I'm just trying to think what other crossovers have we had. I remember, you just talk about Formula Sim racing. Let's not talk about the livery, but let's talk about, yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Ardage and Brabham Esports coming together.
Yep.
Interesting combination of team, terrible combination of livery.
Yeah, like unfortunately, right, with that one, because again, we love both teams. You know, I mean, I've got a jumper and a shirt from both schools. That's fine. So you know, that's all great. But I will say, British Racing Green, gold, white, and pink. I mean, just think about that for a second. Really think about it. Everyone at home, you can cover your ears. Just really think about that as a livery. Like, honestly, I maintain it is one of the worst liveries I've ever seen in sim racing. I kind of like it for it. You and O'Leary, I think, objectively said, no, I think it's quite good.
Yes, but he's got terrible taste in everything, so...
I was like, I think I'm putting him up for adoption.
Yeah,
I've had enough.
To be clear, Ewan objectively has pretty bad opinions on most things, so definitely don't go listen to him on the 24-hour esports coverage, which is underway right now, and tell him what we've been talking about, because that would be great to get Discord DMs mid-broadcast. That would be great. Cooper Webster on board with him once again, by the way, as he tries to close. And you mentioned Redline want to make it a 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're not far away from making a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and I've got to say, if we switch the topic over to some of the best liveries in some racing, I said before, I think this Team Redline car, like, I thought the Team Redline livery a few years ago was drab and boring. But with some of the things they've done with the material system, and again, for me, it's the slight hint of dark blue in there. I think this livery looks fantastic.
You know what? There's one big issue here, though, Lewis. Have you noticed it?
Is it because Verstappen's on the side of the car?
No, although I'm sure there are people that have that opinion. Thank you for trying to get me in trouble, Mr. McGlade. The problem is the Drago racing cars lost a bit too much ground, so it's going to be quite hard to see.
Is it something to do with the number on the rear of the car and how it's into? Yeah, it's obviously because, of course, they've made the livery to be
custom numbers in sim racing and in motorsport should not exist in the world of endurance racing. I've said it over and over again, and I will keep saying it.
No, I agree. There are places for custom numbers like NASCAR.
Yes, love it.
And IndyCar, but yeah, that number on the rear looks so out of place.
Livery looks great. I agree with you.
From this angle, yeah, it looks great.
The other thing I really like is, by the the bottom of the door sill, the way that you just have the logos placed there, it just works. Yeah,
it's a smart livery. Is it the best livery in sim racing?
No.
No. But I'd certainly put it up there. Although it won't win the VCA Simi Award for best livery design. Just going to say that.
Unless it's got friends in high places.
That's true. Well, I mean, I have wildly heard that Redline have a few connections. And
probably.
Yeah, maybe they've got some friends on the panel. Who knows? Some people certainly do. As we'll see what's happened to Arnage. A little bit of a look down the inside from the grid and go-kart. And eek.
Jesse Hilario behind the wheel there, giving the NASCAR bump and run. There you go.
That was. Is that what the new Tino is? It's not grid and go anymore. It's bump and run.
I don't. Let's not get Calais sending us messages after this. That team manager would be like, "Well, why are you giving us carnage competition? I mean, let's just do something like that again."
Do you must maybe you do remember a driver, William Levesque?
William, yes, yeah. It's been a while,
yeah. Okay, so I remember this is when I was fairly new to the world of sim races 10 years ago. I remember he was racing in a series called Touring Pro Series, and he hit someone off, and he described the move as a clean bump and run, which has very much stuck in my mind for over 10 years. So I don't know where he is in the world of in the world of motorsport sim racing or whatever anymore, but yeah, that's still with me.
That is something. A clean bump and run is something you should only hear on the short tracks in the heartland of America when it comes to regional oval racing. It's a contradiction in and of itself. Cooper Webster says, "I don't need contact to make moves happen." Red line 1, 2, and 3. With half the first hour complete, they finally got in the triumvirate onto the podium.
Yeah, that was a nice little one, but it's certainly not done yet. We'll see if Urano can work their way back past down towards turn 1. The inside line being taken quite comfortably by the 21. I think now when you work your way back over, things are settled. A little bit of lap traffic might well sort some of this grouping out as well. You can see the spacing on the circuit is becoming slightly more even as we're reaching a bit of an equilibrium with cars on the circuit and such and all over the place. But still, our top 2 in the LMDh is very close. If they can go for the next 7 minutes, which I'm sure they'll be able to, then obviously they're on a 2-stop. And I don't believe around here that anyone can really reach the hour mark, although you never really know.
I don't think either of these two at the front can, and are we going to see a swap between the pair of Williams Esports cars, not into turn 1, but let's not forget what happened at Zandvoort. They didn't fight, and then it was almost just like a mistake, and then the move happened, and we almost missed it.
Yeah, like I said, there's a couple of little bits to speak of in that. It was like a little awkward. My only fear with these two, by the way, is obviously as always, one of the big risks in this is making a mistake in traffic. That is one of the easiest things to do in this. But then it is are you burning too much fuel in your current spot, or have you just absolutely nailed it? Because remember back into Zandvoort, they were burning too much fuel, and that was what effectively cost them the win. Because even on that, it wasn't even about the shaving a pit stop off. It was like Urano had just saved enough fuel that their last stop was a lot shorter. And then obviously you've got one stop that's going to be longer than the other, and it's about when you take that one. So the strategy in this category is wild all over us, and that's why we love it. And
we talked about this a bit more last year when it came to the GT3s and the way the tyres played out, because this year you can do tyres and fuel at the same time, which bugs both of us a lot. But it also removed what was one of the most fun things, which is the fact that the second driver would usually have to deal with the bad tyre management that the first driver had gone through. And it was a really interesting complexion of the race. And it also meant that, Lewis, you had to do your practice in such a way that the first driver would do their stint, and then the second driver would come in after them and do their stint as well. So they knew roughly what they were going to be dealing with.
Yeah, I've got to say, we complain about the tyre strategy a lot because, I hate it.
Rightfully.
But I will say, if I were a driver in this championship, every single day of the week, I'd be like, no. I would much rather the tyres being able to go onto fresh tyres. Right? I would much rather that, because it makes practice a lot easier, because you're always starting from the same point, basically, with the exception of damage and stuff, but that's all. That's normal in racing. You don't have to do a full 2-hour stint to understand what's going to happen in the race. Sure, it helped, but you don't have to do it. You can separate it into the short stint. So from a driver perspective, this is far better. But yeah, it's interesting. It is very interesting. Who was it who posted on social media recently about? I think it was Marcel Kiefer about. Large amounts of practice in the world of sim racing and stuff like that is what's basically draining his want to kind of keep doing stuff at the high level and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm sure he's still going to keep continuing. But, it's a very interesting topic.
I've been thinking a lot about this, of course, as someone that helps put on competitions behind the scenes, and realistically, There is no good solution here is the problem. The best solution is kind of what we do for, VCO Pro Sim and some of those events where the drivers don't really know what combos we're going to race at. We put it up to a public vote 24 hours before, and ultimately we don't really know. We may have an idea based on how the voting's going, but the final determination is only made an hour before the race. That helps limits practice time, yes, but I can imagine that there are going to be more serious competitions where people have pushback on that. I don't think, as BS competition come into pit lane a little bit earlier than I was expecting maybe, I don't think there's a realistic solution to the let's limit practice time in sim racing, though.
No, the only way that you can really do it, and it's whilst possible, yes, feasible, it's not, which is you only release the track on the day that you're racing. But then you have to build, let's say, for example, if you were going to do a 5-round championship, you then have to build 5 brand new circuits just for that competition, which isn't really going to happen unless it's on a brand new sim, and even then it is unlikely. And then there's a lot of it's kind of one of those ones where I'm sat there looking at it being like, I wish there was a way that we could do this, but unfortunately it's only something which you're going to see in casual leagues, and I've had it in casual leagues, where it's been very enjoyable. I think quite a few people might be aware of what the Mushroom Trophy is, which is we did it on AMS in Super Tourers, and we only knew the circuits an hour before we went racing, and do you know what? It was some of the best racing, most entertaining racing, most entertaining driving that I've had in sim racing. Because if you are in the lead and you bin it off, you're obviously a little bit frustrated, but you're kind of like, well, I've only put in like an hour of practice into this, so it's kind of like, oh, whatever. When you bin it from this scenario, there's so much weight on these drivers' shoulders, even for something like this, where they've put in, let's say it's just 10 hours of practice, which is, a fair amount. If you've put in 10 hours of practice, 5 hours of practice, whatever, there's a lot more weight on whether that practice is going to actually fulfill you with a result, or you could end like Pete Berryman and get binned off at the first corner.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking money as well, right? These drivers are fighting for just under $2,000 per class, so it's just under $4,000 per race to be paid out across the podiums. The season prizes as well will be paid out after this as well, so there's financial ramifications to things that happen out on track as well, things that keep in mind, of course, some of these drivers across the teams as well and how they plan it out. Just watching some of the chat on the iRacing Esports Network, by the way, Craig Williams says that the Craig Setup Shop livery is the best. I disagree because I don't have a Craig Setup Shop t-shirt of any kind. So
or free access.
I don't have a West Cooking Racing Adventures t-shirt either, so Mike Spangler doesn't enjoy any bias in the commentary booth either. Josh Chin does say, by the way, to our point on mental stress, I guess, in sim racing, just don't drive at all and you can't get burned out.
My methodology.
Yes, Josh Chin, of course, helping take some photos for this event behind the scenes. So, yes, it helps when you're busy doing other things in the world of sim racing, I guess.
I think like spicing it up and not doing just one role, something in sim racing is what helps. I actually really enjoy. I did a couple of photographs for the Formula 4 Festival, just banter, because I was just watching or whatever, and I was like, bam, let's take a couple of screenshots. I actually quite enjoyed it. Yeah, just jumping back into that role, trying some things, trying some things. Every now and then, like once a year or once every couple of years, I'll try and make like a video or something, and it's just something different, and it's an exciting other way of starting sim racing. Every 6 months or so, I'll say that I'm going to start making a livery, and then open up a PSD, and I hate myself until I close it and don't go anywhere near it. And driving, I touch every now and then. I mean, some people that I know prefer coaching over actual driving,
right?
Even when they're really, really fast. And I kind of get it because you're invested in other people growing a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, as I said, there's a lot of other jobs in the world of sim racing, and stay away from commentary. That's my deal. We want all the gigs. We want all the gigs.
We aren't good enough, and so please don't come and give us competition because, yes, you'd very quickly find yourself replacing us. On board with the Williams Esports Razor livery, someone points out that it looks quite good. I'm going to point out it looks good. Pit stop underway for the LMDhs, but one big issue with this livery?
The number!
Yeah.
Why is the number white on a white number board?
Well, you know what the real issue here, Lewis, is?
They've selected the wrong
No,
number.
actually. It's because they submitted this livery at the start of the year.
Oh. Right. Okay.
The number boards have changed.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I'm still gonna blame them.
Well, one red line car has done it right. I just want to point this out as well. Second round in a row. Second round in a row in 2 weeks' time. Oh boy, red line have forgotten just a bit of livery.
It's alright. It's only the championship leading car.
It's only the one at the front of the field as well.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. I love the livery though.
Oh,
is this the new one?
Is this the new red line livery?
I mean, look, it is red, it is blue. It's it's all the things. It's lacking a little bit on the logo side of things. Maybe they're going for a nice minimalistic look.
Yes.
Yeah, going into the new year. Sorry, we can't take the mick too much, but no, we can actually.
I mean,
yeah, come on.
We want our t-shirts at the end of the day. This has got more white lines than anything as well. So I'm just saying, team white line, not team red line. New name.
That's true. That is true. I will say, could you imagine if they actually did go? Oh, see, now that would be such a good move. If they did just go, no, actually, do you know what? For one round, we are going to use this livery. We're going to slap our logos on it.
Oh.
That would be the ultimate meme.
If they do that for IMSA Esports.
Just for one round.
Just for one round.
I'd be all over that. They're never going to do it.
No, they would never do it. But we would tip our caps to them if they did.
Yeah.
They've
still got to represent.
They've still got to represent. You were wondering, by the way, about the fuel saving.
Yep.
Plenty of cars already in. 7 LMDHs are yet to come to the pit lane, including the 2 Williams cars out front, which I think implies that maybe they've learnt their lesson from Zandvoort.
Like I say, it is a very, very impressive drive from Williams thus far in the race. Yeah, the two of them are separated by half a second. We don't really know which one's potentially going to come out on top, depending on where they end up. Obviously, an hour and 17 minutes away from the checkered flag. There's still a lot of time in it. But the fact they've pulled out quite a large gap over Daniel Sifi-Chabo and the line behind, obviously there's a few people that have pitted from inside that gap as well. But right now, like I say, they're getting the distance and they're getting the speed. It's almost certainly going to be a 2-stop race, and that's fine. But when you've got 2 bullets in the gun and you're running at the top of the field, that's a really solid spot to be in.
You just got to wonder who's got the 5-1-1 on the strategy right now as they head off in towards the. You picked up on that one. Here we go into the opening corner though. Josh Ladd not going to go for it. Jaden Munos holds on. This is what I was kind of saying at Zandvoort though. You were alluding to the strategy woes. I was kind of talking more about the fact that when they were running at the front, they weren't fighting until they were. It was quite bizarre in that we thought they were playing the team game, and then we looked back at them suddenly and went, wait, something's happened?
Yeah, like I say, if we see them switching quickly, that's not a problem. When you see them going side by side from multiple corners, that is a problem because you lose a lot of time around here from doing so. Switching positions is not a bad idea. It sounds great to me as well, although it might end up in a bit of an incidente, as the cool kids call it. But like I said, right now I think it's calm between the pair of them. I do suspect, in an hour's time, if they were running in this kind of scenario and they had a decent gap to those behind, they're going to go for an almighty battle around Suzuka, which I am all for.
I think we're looking forward to that potential at the end. You have Urano and Altus, who are still doing battle. Danny Lorenzo, Eduardo Leo. Now, I haven't actually heard anything from Race Control in quite a bit, so I'm going to have to go and check our little board that we get from them. You can follow along by going to RaceSpot.TV/BMW. Nice and simple for you to try and follow along as well. But yeah, Urano have at least 2 different things that I'm thinking they may be in trouble for. That's not the right line, Jaden Munos.
Is it not?
What's happened?
He doing? What is he? Where's he? What's happened? Is he coming?
He's crashed.
Yeah, he must have binned it really hard.
What that car has done, by the way. But what has just happened?
Yeah, unless he's got in, he must have touched, going through 130R, maybe he's touched the grass on the left, going into the Casio triangle, and it sent him into the barrier. That's sometimes what happens. They're going to come through 130R now. Keep your eye on the race leader. Going through 130R. Oh, no, it's not even that. Completely out of their control.
Oh, and that. How do you even respond to a situation like that? Jaden Munos does exactly what he can do, which is make sure that his teammate Josh Ladd has no real drama to worry about, but goodness gracious me, he's still looking for that decisive result since joining up with the Williams Esports team.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's brutal and very unfair. But again, like I said, what's the biggest risk around here? It's lap traffic. I was going to say that's very much the alternate line going through the first corner. There's no fast repair in this, is there?
No, there is.
There is. Oh, so it's fine then. They probably wanted to pit around this time anyway.
Oh wow! You've just reminded me
He
that
might have actually gained, because he went straight over the Casio triangle. He might have actually gained a little bit.
You say that, but I think he may have then given that back up on pit entry, because if you get a slowdown, if you haven't cleared a slowdown before you enter the lane, I don't think you get away without a penalty. And so maybe there was a little bit of giving up the time on entry to compensate for it. But now he's got an angry Pedro Sanchez-Albert swarming all over the back of him. And a Pedro Sanchez-Albert that A has got his tires up to temperature, but B also went for a much shorter time down on pit lane.
Yeah, like I say, a very scary moment for the Williams camp. We'll see if Pedro Sanchez-Albert can try and work his way through that. A couple of issues in the, I call it a couple of issues in the practice sessions. Williams Esports Marla also come down onto the lane to see the Apex Racing team car then take over the race lead. Daniel Civichabo at the front of the field, getting a lap led around Suzuka. Alters also remaining out on the circuit. But yeah, like I say, nervy times from Williams. You've got, I was going to say, I did think we had one fast repair, but I'm 100% sure. But so he's ticked that off. It is only one, by the way. So
yes.
If that happens again, sorry, but that's tough.
Again, this is a, I don't want to say introductory series because it's multi-class racing, but it does cater to both the top level and to anyone. There are multiple splits of competition going on today, and so yes, one fast repair is available. Not something that most of the big teams will be familiar and accustomed to having at their disposal. Josh Ladd, 35.5 seconds, is going to go off of the jacks and back into the lead and have a somewhat substantial margin over his teammate. So I think that answers the question that Jaden Munos may not have actually gained any time as a result of that.
No, like I say, probably lost a couple of seconds, and now navigating a little bit of traffic. Obviously had a little bit to get the tyres up to temperature, but I mean, it could have. The thing is, had that happened 10 minutes before, that car is in an awkward spot. The fact that it happened around now, when you're still on a two-stop strategy, or if you're going to have a moment like that, it couldn't really have happened at a better time. If you're going to have a moment like that, and it's not even a better part of the track, because going to the final corners, you just straight line, it went straight down pit lane. So yeah, wild. You said, by the way, obviously, like you say, introductory series is probably not the right term for it. I was having a little look when we were joining. I think there's like 5, might be 6, but it's definitely 5 drivers that were signed up to this event that have over 10k iRating.
Wow. I mean, we've got...
Now that's scary. It's 26 now.
There's 3 of them on track right now.
Goodness me.
Vildanez, Sotomuto, and Luca Keita. Luca Keita's got 10,422 iRating. What?
Yeah, I don't know where. He was also one that I was a little surprised by. But yeah, I think yesterday, after a couple of switches stuff, I think we now have 26 on the service that have passed 10k.
I mean this in the nicest way possible. I just want to be clear. But if you ever needed more proof for iRating inflation, there you go. Sotomuto tried to channel his inner Kamui Kobayashi there. It didn't quite work out, but fortunately he didn't turn around. The Drago racing car with Ricardo Rico behind the wheel. Oh, now that you've told me 26 drivers, I'm a little bit gobsmacked, to be honest.
I was having a look yesterday, the other day, and there was 25, and I know we had one added yesterday to the 10k list. No one's above 11k anymore, though, so it is definitely 10k Benica, even though it's 10k Benica.
11k Benica never worked anyway.
No, which is why we're much happier where we are.
Yes.
Obviously, there's been a large amount of iRating inflation. That's because more people are on the service, and it's a zero-sum formula, so that's fine. It makes sense that we've had it. As we have a look down the inside, Drago trying to get past Urano, not able to do so, with a little bit of a look down the inside of the Casio triangle. But I will say, when you get past, as far as I know, once you get past about like 7 or 8k, it's kind of like, meaningless is probably the wrong way of putting it, but like the speed difference between like a 7k driver and a 10.5k driver is not that much, really. Not really.
No. What you really deal with at that level is if you win a race, maybe you gain 10 iRating, maybe.
Whopping.
If you get crashed out of a race, oh, you may lose up. I've heard 200 iRating lost in a single race.
And I'm not surprised.
Which hurts my soul to just hear that, by the way. But yeah, those are the things that you deal with. I just went and looked, by the way. Wow is all I'm going to say. Wow, indeed. You're right that we are up to above. We're at 20. Oh wait, the website's just loading too fast on me now. There's too many drivers up there. I think we're at 25 officially at 10K. So maybe a driver has dropped back below now that magic number. But Gustavo Ariel, 10,900 I rating.
Yep, number 1 on the service. Which I didn't think it was Gustavo Ariel.
Right.
When I checked the other day, I was like, "Oh, it's Gustavo, is it? Oh, good effort. Go on, son." No, love to see it, but damn.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Gustavo. That surprised me. Dominic Hoffman is number 3. I don't know if that surprised me or if it should have surprised me. What kind of surprised me? Alex Dunn is number 8.
Yeah, I know. That's obviously sad stuff. I don't know, you probably wouldn't have seen it. Sad stuff from this morning.
I was fast asleep, unfortunately.
Yeah, I will say, because he has done a little bit of BMW M SIM Cup, and yeah, obviously we see him over in the IMSA stuff. I think we should give a massive round of applause to Alex for this weekend. Because obviously we've never raced the Formula 3 car. He goes around a street circuit, which obviously he's never been anywhere near. Slaps it into 6th position, rises his way up the order into 2nd, finishes in 2nd in the first race, and unfortunately retires going into Lisboa with a bit of a crash that, to be fair, caught out a couple of people. But yeah, like I say, I think it's been an amazing weekend for him. It just shows the level of talent. And also, I've got a huge amount of bias towards it because obviously GB3 represent son.
But do you have an Alex Dunn t-shirt?
No.
Okay, we're going to have to change that. Maybe you can be the head of merch for Alex as well moving forward.
I don't have a Luke Browning t-shirt either, and he won the championship the previous year. So again, that's my Team Redline t-shirt that they need to bring to Sweden.
Right, there you go. I mean, I've got to try and... Andre and Mark will get a message from me after this. We will figure out the t-shirt delivery situation over to the US. Yeah, so Alex Dunn, number 8 on the iRating list. By the way, I didn't realize that his... never mind, I was reading that wrong. He's done 2,000 starts, and I was just like, how many starts has he done this year alone? And it's quite a high number in and of itself. Ritomo Miyata is 16th in the iRating list. He was the Japanese driver I was mentioning with BS Competition earlier. Phil Denez is not far behind, also a BS Competition. Parker White is maybe the more interesting one, given that, you know, he's more of an... known for being an oval racer. 223 starts, 110 wins in those 223
scary,
starts.
Isn't it? How many starts do you have?
Give me a second here. I can go find out.
Is it not at the top of the list?
Oh, yes, it is actually. 451.
Okay, you started more races than me. That's fine.
How many wins do you have?
We're not talking about that.
Come on. Fess up.
16.
58.
Yeah, no, it's because I was racing in good stuff constantly rather than just sitting in one car, trying to get in with the community.
You mean you couldn't beat Adam Blocker in a wheel-to-wheel battle? Is what you're telling me? At Road Atlanta.
I wouldn't be able to. No.
Oh, what a fun
but my average points per race is nice.
Oh, is it? Mine is not.
Yeah.
Mine is 66, so it's 3 less nice than yours.
Yeah, exactly. Mine is top tier nice.
Let us know if you're watching on how many races you have done, what your average finish is, how many wins you've had. Maybe the more interesting thing is that I'm quite curious. How many laps have you done on the service?
5,797.
Those are small figures. I'm at 12K.
Yeah, we see Gustavo Ariel, he's at nearly 26K. So,
and you know that small fry when the most of active drivers... Do you want to hazard a guess, Lewis?
No idea.
190,000.
Nah. No.
That is probably someone
too many.
that has been on iRacing since 2008.
Yeah.
They have also had 13,000 race starts, though. So
again, it's crazy.
That's a lot.
I just, honestly, I was talking to him about this before. Because he was saying, like, doing all this practice. Actually, we're having a great with Greg Creamer in the IMSA eSports stuff. And you were saying about how much practice do the top driver do? And I can't remember what he said. I think it was just something like 4 or whatever, and we laughed at him.
Yes.
Because like whatever. I've said before, when it comes to like in events for me, if I've done more than an hour of practice, I'm genuinely impressed with myself. Once it passes, honestly, I'll start an event. I'll start doing practice. When the Super Formula was new, before I did a race, obviously, fair enough, it's different because it's just an official race. But I did 10 laps of practice, and went, let's go for it. I actually did a race around here on a game called GameStop, which obviously then actually became Automobilista. And on that, it was in the touring cars, which is the Copa de Marcas, like their touring car type thing, which is honestly so cool. And I think it was 3 laps of practice before qualifying. Thumbs up. I completely forgot the event was on. Still qualified 10th. I was like, yeah, go on, lads. All right, don't worry about
it. This is how we know. That Lewis is washed, yes. You said it more nicer than I was trying to, but yes. I was going to say, if you were part of any of these big teams and you showed up for a race that you'd done an hour practice for, they'd probably kick you out of the car. Not 3 wide through traffic, please. Jaden Munos has really lost out in this cycle, not just with the moments just before the pit stops, but now 5 seconds back from your race leader with BS Competition and Pedro Sanchez Albert hot on the heels, and Urano and Danny Lorenzo not too far behind either. And bobbling through the traffic as that's a look to the inside from the BS Competition car. Sam Coiter trying to defend from Phil Denez, and we will go 3 wide off corner exit.
That is very, very scary indeed. Like I say, especially on this short run up the hill. On board with the 71 Team Redline car, trying to get past, or back past the BS Demon car. Quite able to do so there at the hairpin. Decent run off though. By the way, I do want to say, Nicholas Boy answered your question about who was the Japanese driver in business. He said Ritoyo Miyato. I think he said that genuinely about 40 minutes ago.
No, he did. I was hoping you weren't going to bring that up.
So now I have brought it up. So enjoy that one.
Yeah, thank you for that. Nicholas Boy, of course, has been flying in the BMW M Hybrid as a whole. Now, is he actually going to be in the race today?
I don't believe so. I'll go and double check.
No, because it is. I was going to say, I thought Valtteri Alander was scheduled to race alongside Pedro Sanchez Albert. Yeah. So we'll get the Flying Finn back out. I think a Flying Finn who, by the way, has been busy with some of his schoolwork over the course of 2023. But, of course, some recent news about some American open wheel series. I think Valtteri is quite excited about hopefully in 2024. The potential for us to see a little bit more of him. We know, of course, just how quick he can be no matter what we throw him into. Phil Denez, by the way, 10 positions gained so far. Not done just yet. You can see them work past traffic, so Sam Coiter doesn't have to defend into turn 1, but what a charge it's been so far from the American.
Yeah, definitely not in this race, because obviously it's Felix Quirnbach with being with Phil Denez as well, this car that we're on board with here, so no Nicholas Boy in this, which is fine. Although, yeah, we enjoyed seeing him in the IMSA Esports race. We're about an hour into this one, so we're expecting to see some of the GT3s approach the pit lane. They'll at least tease the idea of coming down fairly soon. Although, to be fair, I wouldn't be too surprised if quite a few of them could even stretch it to about 50 minutes to go in this race if they've been sat in traffic quite a bit. Because you can save fuel quite comfortably around there, especially with the traffic. You've got to think the run through the S's. You can basically do that half throttle behind someone. Yeah,
no, that's something where as well, you, I think, plan in some amount of fuel saving in traffic. You know that, especially in the GT3s, you are going to give up some time as around the outside. That's not going to work for Denez, and is it going to open him up to a charge from Steinbraten, not off of the corner, but it's in towards Spoon that maybe now there will be some more fighting to come. Denez actually got a pretty good run. It's always interesting to see that the American wakes up early, does qualifying, starts the race when it's going on 6:40 in the morning, and he's going to hand it over to a teammate that would have been well positioned to start the race. Denez positioned to try and look to the inside. Oh!
Yeah. Oh, I got spun around there. I don't know if that was because of the Team Redline car, whether it was so. I believe it must have been contact of some description that sent him around. You don't typically see them lose grip there, although it is possible on the inside, especially if you clip too much of the curb. But there was 2 cars battling there with the wrong number board on, and, well, they paid the price. Let's see.
Oh, yeah. It's just tiny shove, and you've got to say Steinbraten, I don't think really intentionally drives through the rear, but race control is going to be all over that, and I assume it's going to be a pretty quick thing to solve.
Slam dunk. That is a slam dunk pen. I mean, like I say, it's not that egregious. It's not that bad. It's very understandable. You've got to remember, everyone's, as I'm sure we're all aware, on iRacing, you drive from in the cockpit, and you kind of almost have to guess with where the front of the car is. And these drivers they're generally so good at getting it to, like, generally like a couple of mil. And this just a little bit too far, and unfortunately in the worst place possible. You're going down and over a crest, and he's hit the exact right part of the car to pitch it round. It is, couldn't have got that any worse.
There's one car with the right number board on, by the way. Just give them a shout out. The Apex Racing team at number 1, Max and Scudino behind the wheel.
But is number 1 the right number?
You know why they have the number 1?
No, I actually don't.
Because they didn't assign themselves a specific number for that team, and so they will be the highest I-rated number team in the session. And so if you don't set a number, you just get one automatically assigned.
Terrible excuse. So arrogant and egotistical to appear in the number 1. To be fair, I remember Oscar Harbeck once did this. We did a Porsche Cup championship, and he made the championship, and he made the better of the first season of it. We were all doing like the number selections. Obviously, I'm 78, Dan's 89, Matt Richards is 4, and all this kind of stuff. And then Oscar was normally the 42, and he goes,
"No,
well, no one's taken the 1."
No.
And so he took the number 1, and his excuse was he was like, well, there's nothing in the rule book that says that I can't do it. And everyone was just sort of like, well, you mean the rule book that you wrote?
Oh. Cheeky
boy.
Cheeky pit stops underway right now as Lulham brings in the number 20. Now, by the way, I've just been trying to keep an eye on fastest laps in this GT3 class. Chris Lulham's fastest lap was a 1:58.709. No one else has gone faster, and so as Lulham gets out, Pinto gets in. We know what the target is for the Portuguese driver.
Now, because obviously, if Red Line are feeling that like all 4 of their cars are the fastest, or at least the top 3, if they're running first, second, and third, if their top 3 are the fastest, do they kind of pass the call on to the 70 and the 21 as well to be like, right, Josh, Florian, don't go faster than Diogo?
Yes, in my opinion.
Just sit down for 57.5 boring minutes and accept your money at the checkered flag. Thank you very much.
Well, what I would also maybe point out is that Pinto and Lulham have been the fastest car, and by some margin. I mean, 5 seconds in a field of this quality in an hour, it's a lot. It is quite a lot. And so Pinto is off and away. That margin might even have grown slightly, actually, all things considered, given Pinto was quite efficient from cone to cone in the box. Thompson and then Labigro will be the remaining cars out in the red line podium spots before you then get Urano and Nessoff. Drago and Aaron Vasquez, of course, who's made the swap over from Altus Esports. Sammy Matty Trogan in that Williams Esports car, fresh off his victory in the iRacing Fuji 8 Hours in a slightly different car, albeit with the Sontec Racing crew.
Yeah, it was obviously fantastic from Sontec. They were so good in the Fuji 8 Hour when it came to fuel mileage and speed, and a very well deserved victory. But alas, in this one, not quite in quite as comfortable a scenario. Obviously, just a 2-hour race this one, so you don't get to play those big long strategies. Obviously, a bit of lap traffic as well from their teammates working their way through. But yes, the big number, as you said, the one that we're looking for is a 58.709. That is what Lulham has set in the GT3 category. That is what Diogo Pinto needs to beat to go joint first in the championship, just to cause a headache for no reason. But I respect it. I do genuinely respect it.
You say headache. I think this is just the team thing, right? This is
yeah, of course.
This is a recognition that it's been the both of them that have put the effort forward, right, to get this point. I've just seen as well, it's a good thing that the 3 red line cars that sit on the podium haven't been involved in drama, because poor Gianni Vecchio has just taken over from Ole Steinbraten, and the first thing that would have come over on the race control board for him, we've got a 5-second penalty to be added at the end of the race.
Oh, I thought it might have been speeding the pit lane. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. To be fair, we saw the incident, and like we said, we didn't think that one was going to be a particularly long one for race control to deal with. So swiftly dealt with, a post-race penalty. But to be fair, I'm not sure that's even going to cost them too many points considering where they are. But I mean, they are in the top 10. So
I have an idea, by the way, Lewis.
Go.
This is a great livery, right?
Yep, perfect. The best livery on the grid. Yep.
How can I make it better?
By screwing up the number board. Oh, perfect.
We have now made a 10 out of 10 livery.
That is. Now, see, now what you have to do is every time we go on board, you have to have that.
I have to redraw that on
every single time.
Oh, can you imagine?
I mean, look, if you were sat here for long enough, you could draw a can of like Red Bull or something on the Verstappen.com, write it down there.
If I was sat here for long enough, I quite literally would just take that. I would go into iRacing, grab the template, and you can get.
Oh, mate, yes.
You see what I'm doing here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Put your
Off
face
you go.
somewhere. Put my face somewhere on it. You
Yeah, I
never
don't.
know.
Okay, now as much as we're very much against the idea of changing liveries mid-broadcast, because you should submit it beforehand. That would
Yes.
be an occasion where I think we at least would be all over it. I think you might get a message from
Dom Doohan, maybe.
from Dom Doohan, maybe even from Max, just generally from behind the scenes of Redline, asking, "What are you doing, Chief?"
I've updated their livery on a broadcast in real time once before. We could just say this is
Same thing, just helping you out.
it's just the same thing. Yes.
Just getting your branding out there.
To be fair,
guys.
what I would actually legitimately want to do is I would just take this, put a picture of Max's face on the side, saying, "Send my regards, please."
Honestly, for one, that was a terrible bit of driving at turn 1, but the response
Was great.
was 10 out of 10. Honestly, 10 out of 10.
Deserved penalty. I think you and I are on the same page there.
No doubt. It was awful. But also at the same time, like I say, it is one of the things that I do kind of respect is just I don't really care. And I'm like, part of me has a serious problem with that, but also at the same time, I'm like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, we'll not talk about that too much.
See, this is the thing. Track limits. That is a discussion in and of itself. But what did Fernando Alonso say all those years ago? All the time, you must leave the space.
Leave it to space.
Yes. Sorry, the way you said that. I mean,
Thank you. Yeah, no,
you
I
just
don't
had to go into that inflection when you say it, don't you?
Yeah, but the thing is when anytime everyone does it, you must leave it to space. It's always very Italian. Have you noticed that?
It is.
It's really Italian. It's like he doesn't speak like that. But it does feel more satisfying to say leave it to space, especially if you do the hand gesture as well. It's honestly that is top tier. But yes, you've got to at least give a car's width or anything like that. But then, oh my god, the track limit discussion is so boring.
I was going to say that the absence of gravel walls on the outside of a track should not suddenly mean that it's fair game to dive so far into a corner that you yourself run off the track in the act of making the pass.
Yes, that's why I had a big argument with Cam Roger. Was it Cota?
Oh, maybe.
I think it was on our little Discord, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, it's the tracks we go to," and I was like, "That's a terrible excuse."
It is a terrible excuse. Agreed. Alexei Nassov, by the way, stops the red line trio at the front. Yeah, it's been a good year for Alexei. Jumped back into some GT3 machines in the real world. Got to take part in the 24 Hours of Spa, show his mettle, and well, he's closed already on Florian Lebigra. Gotten past one of the newest members of Team Redline. He's only 3.5 now back from poor Josh Thompson.
Yeah,
wait.
Like I say. Oh,
what?
Speeding in pit lane, maybe.
That car has got no black flag.
Technical issue, maybe no force feedback or something like that. Maybe. Well, to be fair, I will say the no force feedback is not generally a problem that motors have. He's coming to the box and he's going immediately.
Fast repair?
There was no meatball either.
The only reason you would come in and stop for that short, though, is you're not changing.
Yeah. It's definitely using that fast repair.
Okay. And now we're confused all of a sudden again.
It's not. Yeah, like I said, you're absolutely right. The only reason you would come into the pit lane for that short period, and you'd actually stop and go, is fast repair. Very bizarre.
All right. So what we're gonna do? I want to be clear here. I have no idea what's happened. We're looking at replays and we're hoping we can figure this out. So that's Lebigra. That's a Drago racing car. And that's some contact.
Is quite a bit.
Was that enough? It
Well,
looks
to be fair,
broken.
I was going to say, consider the gap that opened up between he and his teammate.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, it is broken. Okay, so now we do actually have an answer. Okay.
Fair play to him to get that car
Big
back
time.
around.
And to only lose the one position, bringing it back around, obviously you had to lose more from the pit lane. That was kind of silly.
Okay, my buttons eventually work. There we go. Yeah, that was a bit silly, wasn't it?
on board with the satellite racing car. Like I say, it was a gap that's. I get why you kind of want to go for some of these risks and take some of the extra section. You've got to respect it. The GT3s have to turn in at some point.
Yeah.
And again, it's always your responsibility to lap cleanly, as boring as it is. So to constantly repeat it, but it is true. And clearly, they don't listen.
I like how you make it sound like the most boring thing in the world, when if we had everyone just follow that rule, we'd have a lot cleaner races and we'd have less to complain about if we were being fair.
No, it is true. The reason why it's boring to say is because we say it every single broadcast.
Yes.
But it is in multi-class racing. It's the truest statement of multi-class racing. Ignoring all flags, ignoring all even rules and base structures of a series, a league, or whatever. It is just kind of like it is a general blanket rule of all motorsport. And of course, in that case, sim racing, and just how you should do it. The faster car is always the one that's responsible for lapping cleanly within a fair reason. That's just without even reading a rule of a championship. That is how it is.
Agree. On board with Mr. Gianni Vecchio, who hopefully is having more fun at Suzuka than he did back in 2021. Mm-hmm. Although that's maybe more incident points added to the tally there. I still remember Max Verstappen and Josh Rogers had a bit of a ding-dong battle in the first hour in the BMW M8 GTE machines. That was back in it's still the case nowadays, where you have a 25x incident limit. You get incident points here in the world of iRacing, and once you hit 25, instant disqualification. You disappeared from the virtual world. Max Verstappen, 1 hour complete, 24 incident points. Poor Gianni Vecchio, the inevitable ended up happening.
Bit of a pop. Yeah, he was gone. I was really trying to make a louder pop there. I couldn't.
It was pretty. It was not bad.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was just like that. It was gone. At least he's lasted longer in this race. So that is the important bit. But like I say, a bit further down, at least he gets to rise his way up and have a little bit of fun with this one. And like I say, he's inside the points. But remember, this car does have it's 5 seconds, isn't it?
Yes.
Time penalty over its head. 46 minutes to kind of deal with that. It's fine. But still, it is there.
And I think the problem with 5 seconds is that if you get 5 seconds up in front of Alexander Thieb, a former Red Line driver, then you find yourself in the battle with Drago Racing, with Williams Esports Razor and Simon Matty Trogan, and so that's an uncomfortable place to be, I think, in some ways. Through the S's, you can just see as well the way that they're trying to maximize the track in most places, except for here, this final part where they're on the right-hand side, bring that momentum up the hill. And with 45 minutes to go, Urano Esports down in pit lane in the LMDh class. A bit early maybe for some, given that we keep talking about 40 minutes in terms of fuel, but right on track for the driver's swap. Out gets Danny Lorenzo, in gets Dominic Hoffman.
And also what that does confirm Dominic Hoffman is your LMDh champion for the most part, unless they put Lorenzo back in, but they're not going to. Because that car presently doesn't have the fastest lap. And thus, because the bonus point has already been given to Hoffman in the previous round, he actually already has a 1 point advantage, which means there's nothing that Lorenzo can do. As much as I know they don't care about that at all, it is just... It's a talking point that Hoffman is now definitely he's the champion-elect. It's sorted.
Are we going to call it as that, though?
He's the champion.
Dominic Hoffman is the champion.
Yeah.
Does this make Danny Lorenzo any less of a champion?
No, in my opinion, no. Like again, as much as I love the championship, I don't agree with that. I think it should still be a team champion. I understand why it's not. I do understand why it's not, because it's very hard to track over this, because it's an open entry, it's an official race. So I get it why it's a drivers' championship, but in my opinion, it's like, just don't even give the bonus point for the fast lap then.
That's the thing, right? Is we recognise that over 10 races, you are going to have some changing in driver lineups. Go back to the last round, BMW M SIM Cup on the same day as the first round of the IMSA Esports Global Championship. It had an impact on the field, as you might expect, and we'll get back to that in a moment, because Josh Ladd almost just got taken out there with traffic, and I heard a spin. That's the satellite racing car that's also, I think, had a moment in traffic.
Yeah, it's starting to kick off a little bit. Josh Ladd, though, I mean, in all of that, he's lost about 2 seconds to Jaden Munos after, obviously, his earlier issues. They're going to lose out a little bit to some of those behind, but wow, that was very sketchy. D comes up to the sister car, the Williams Esports Razor. Goes for the up and under and leaves the corner. Let's see what happened to Satellite, though.
And, well, Williams Esports Razor are there, and it's almost a... It's almost a mirror incident of what Satellite Racing had with Redline before, and so I'm sorry, Kevin, you're not going to like it when I say that's 100% on you. Yep,
both occasions. I'd say the second one more so, but yeah, like look at this. The thing is, like the GT's doing what it's doing, it's just driven straight into them. There's like I don't want to be like too harsh or anything or throw anyone under the bus. Yeah, and we do like ourselves a little bit of Satellite. There is no one else that can be blamed in that scenario. Oof.
And that scenario saw V10R losing it through the first part of the Degners, and Race Clutch, who are running in 5th, finding themselves with no time to respond, and now potentially some worries for them as Drago Racing are being able to close right back up with them. Don't worry, I can take the heat for throwing Kevin Burrell under the bus. I'm sure I'll get some Discord messages after the fact, but Kevin knows it's all just in good spirits. So 2.5 seconds now at the front since Williams Esports Marla lost a little bit of time. Race Clutch lost their time as well with V10R. There's Arturo Melgar in the Drago Racing car. Now, didn't Drago Racing get 2 pole positions in a row in the BMW M SIM Cup?
I actually don't know.
They definitely had a few. It's just been strategy that's not necessarily helped them out as Gianni Vecchio gets past Alexander Thieber. But yeah, they pit stops.
I don't have those stats written down, mate.
Oh, do you not?
No, I've got quali from Road Atlanta written down.
Oh, interesting.
Obviously, my notes from Zandvoort. No, I've not gone through and written down all the quali results, mate. I've got the race results from the race winners. But that's about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've seen Drago on top at least twice or thrice this year in qualifying. The problem was you went back to Williams not saving fuel at Zandvoort. Guess what? Drago, every time they've been at the very front and have shown pace in qualifying, have basically just gone helter-skelter and saved absolutely no fuel, and found out that's not been the optimal strategy.
Yeah, didn't we see? I think it was like earlier on in the season. I get the feeling it was one of the first like 4 or 5 rounds that we saw them certainly up there, because we were all like we were taken a little bit back by it, thinking, oh, maybe this isn't going to be.
It was Fuji, wasn't it?
Maybe, but I just remember. Yeah, every single time you run, it's just all like, oh, by the way, we've got fuel games, as there's a bit of a look around the outside.
This is the Rockenor Racing Orange team. Valtteri Alander under fire in the BS competition car. Dominic Hoffman fresh out of pit lane, and the 7 hasn't been down to the box, so it's got worn tyres, yes, but low fuel.
Yeah, so it's sort of like, it's faster in some places and slower in others. It's obviously slower through the S section, but be faster on the straights and faster on the drives off the corner, as long as they've looked after their rear tyres enough. To be fair, the tyres, generally speaking, because they're only 40 minutes since, and so the tyres don't receive the same kind of beating as what you see elsewhere. But at the same time, I think once things have stabilised a little bit, once the temperatures come up properly, and once Valtteri Alander's got himself set in the race and a bit more comfortable, that gap will grow, which I think it's already started to quite a bit. So Valtteri Alander, Dominic Hoffman pulling away from the Rockenor Racing orange car.
It's not a bad team name, Rockenor Racing.
It's no Aurora Artifact Calamity flag to flag powered by RaceSpot, that's for sure.
It doesn't break the timing graphics in the same way. That is a guarantee. Drago Racing get Melgar out. Maciejewski is going to take over in the 696. All as, of course, this final pit stop window just continues to roll on through. So Josh Ladd also gets ready to hand over controls of the Williams Esports Marla car. Matt Farrow expected to take over, of course. These two have become a formidable pairing after showing plenty of speed at Road Atlanta over the course of the iRacing Petit Le Mans, the BMW M SIM Cup as well. In a nice way for them to sign off a calendar year, because after this, we do have 2 more IMSA Esports races to come. There's not really too much top-level prototype racing in the rest of 2023.
No, the year is very much coming to a close. A lot of the racing's slowing down, calming down. People are getting themselves ready for Christmas, of course. Doesn't mean there's no racing going on. We've still got plenty of high-level racing, but to be fair, as I think some things are slightly moving in the world of sim racing when it comes to contracts. It's not like we're having a transfer window. Like that. But because quite a lot of contracts when they're signed, they're generally signed year start to year end, be it of the financial or of the normal. It does mean that for quite a few of these drivers, some of them, if they do have a contract until December 31st, until the end of the year, they could be looking at some of their last races for their given teams. Obviously, we have no idea. That's just pure speculation. But for quite a few, there might be in that kind of camp. So you never know.
Of course, Elvis Rankin announced that he's leaving the Apex Racing team.
Isn't that effective immediately, though?
Yep, he's left after ESLR1. Ben Fuller has also left with the conclusion of the Turn Racing Grand Prix Series. So, is the end of some drivers' time with various teams. It'll be interesting to see where they land up and exactly what the driver market's going to shake up moving into what I think is going to be a slightly different year for sim racing in 2024. So 40 minutes left to go. GT3 pit stops, of course, came to a close about 20 minutes ago. The LMDh is still cycling their way on through as we watch the BS competition and Urano Esports teams battle. Elvis Rankin, by the way, says that he hasn't signed for someone, but I don't know if I believe him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I've had a similar sort of discussion. I don't know. Maybe he hasn't. You don't necessarily need to sign someone immediately or sign for a team immediately after leaving. Although generally speaking, if you see someone leaving a team of their own volition, it normally is because they have already signed a contract with another team, and it's there's certain things as to whether it can be announced or not. But maybe he's going to start his own team and give it a really weird name, like Unicorns of Love.
Maybe he's joining Artifact Racing.
Maybe. Ooh.
I can confirm that is not the case. Their team manager just doesn't have the budget, unfortunately.
Yeah. What? A couple of Freddos and a packet of crisps? You can't afford that. That's surely that's what he'd go for.
For Elvis Rankin, maybe. Throw him maybe a couple more Freddos. Although he is American, isn't he? So you need.
Yeah, he won't know what a Freddo is.
You need to give him the American candy.
What? Okay. No, seriously, this is 37 minutes. This is certainly not the topic we should be talking about. But yeah, you've visited. England.
I used to live in England.
Excuse me. Exactly. You've been here for a while. You've obviously Singapore and stuff. What is American candy actually like?
Yes, that bad.
It's much worse, isn't it? Every time I've tried it, I'm like, maybe it changes on the flight or something. I don't know. But this ain't it.
So when you fly over next May, by the way, to the US, just so you know, part of the requirement before I'm allowing you in my car is you have to give me 5,000 Mars bars.
Oh well, that's not going to be 5,000, but
I'll make up.
I'll bring over a few.
We'll settle
I'll bring
at
over a few. I'll bring over 5. Yeah, to be fair, they might be eating on the flight though. That's the problem. As Josh Ladd has come into the pit lane. I will say though, one thing about American food that is better than English food. Good American breakfast.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't mind an English breakfast as well, but it's slightly different.
Same. There's something about an American breakfast. It's maple syrup and bacon.
But that's you're talking Canadian breakfast.
Yeah, but
you're talking maple syrup.
But don't they put maple syrup on American breakfast anyway?
No, they do. But
yeah, exactly.
You know how serious Canadians are about their maple syrup, right?
That's true. I like the knockoff stuff.
Well, no.
Is there any Canadians in chat?
They have a maple syrup reserve, Lewis, like a central bank.
No,
but
it's
like
bad,
a maple, I mean, it's pretty cool in some ways, but it is pretty. When you think about it, it's a cartel. They're artificially controlling the supply of maple
tasty,
syrup.
Isn't it?
It's very tasty and better than US chocolate is. That's for sure.
Hershey's, it's the Hershey stuff that like people bring back. I'm like, this stuff is terrible.
It's not chocolate. Oh, sorry.
We're so off topic.
I went to school in Pennsylvania. They have a theme park there, sponsored by Hershey's. It doesn't make me like their candy anymore.
No. I think I could pick up sponsorship for my racing team, Aurora Motorsports, from Hershey's, and I still couldn't back them. I just couldn't say it with a straight face.
It's kind of like.
Anyway, that's that sponsorship deal gone.
That is one of those things gone. Also, by the way, say goodbye to Marvano Sim Racing because they hit the incident limit. They've been disqualified, just like Max Verstappen and Gianni Vecchio were 2 years ago. Jaden Munos picks up an off-track for running wide out of 130R, but it's all just in his fight to try and get out in front in this pit lane battle with Matt Farrow taking over in that Williams Esports Marla car. It's Jaden Munos exit stage pit lane and bringing his day to an end.
Yeah, like I say, for Jaden Munos, it's been a pretty decent day, a pretty decent run. Has closed his way back up to his teammate for victory, but obviously had that substantial moment. Thankfully, though, they're through it. And again, could not have happened at a... it always feels weird saying about that crash couldn't have happened at a better time, but did he miss his box?
I think he might... Oh! What's happened to both the Apex Racing
Everything
team
down here.
and a BS competition? And these are two teams that have come together their fair share of times, and it's happened once again.
Yeah, I think there might have been some lap traffic involved in that going through the second of the Degners. Let's see what's happened to Drago Racing. Ooh,
That's a bit of a tank slapper.
I think the car might be damaged a little bit, you know. Maybe it was just brain cells.
Oh, this might be something a bit more... Yeah. Oh, it's not done, is it?
No.
I like how they managed to find a way to keep that crash going.
Yeah, I had that with a friend of mine, Scott Beresford, the final corner of Interlagos once. We were racing at the basically it's like 2002 Formula One cars, and I was leading because of course I'm great. It was Oscar behind me, and then it was Scott Beresford. Then it was a guy called Kieran Parkin, and going through the penultimate corner, the fastest corner down the hill, Scott had run a little bit wide. And I saw him in my mirror just shoot left. And I was like, he's coming back on track in a second. I know it's going to hit one of us. I'm just hoping it's not me.
Right.
And I go through the exit of the corner. I'm fine. I look at my mirror. Oscar's fine. Kieran, bang, straight in the side. And it literally was just like that. It's so bad when you see it.
Oh, that's brutal. That's unfortunate. Yes, that's the thing. At least you can laugh about it in the aftermath. Not sure how much laughing some of these drivers will be doing with how their incidents are played out. So Matt Farrow in place of Josh Ladd. I know Jaden Munos fans are bitterly disappointed that he's no longer behind the wheel of the number 3, and so hopefully you'll stick around to cheer on while his teammate, Augustin Canapino.
Yeah, well look, come on, we all like a little bit of Augustin Canapino. We know he's very fast behind the wheel of a real race car or in a sim. I don't know if this is really bad, but I still don't think he's an IndyCar driver.
You think of him as a touring car driver?
As a little bit of a South American touring car driver or sim racer, just because I've known him racing for that long. We're discussing this back in Zandvoort. Like I've known his racing for a while. I've known Augustin for a very long time. It is still really weird to be like, oh yeah, I keep forgetting he races an IndyCar.
Speaking of, by the way, sounds like there's some progress being made on bringing those cars down to Argentina. Maybe next year for a non-points race. The year after that for a points-paying race. That will be quite fun to see how that all progresses. I've been just trying to keep an eye, by the way, on Mr. Diogo Pinto. I think they may have to bring him in down to pit lane if they are that set on making sure that there's equal points between Pinto and Lulham. He's not really in the spot right now to match the times of what Lulham was doing earlier.
No, but I am going to have a look. Lulham's lap time was set 22 laps into his stint, which was when he did this 58.709. At the moment, Diogo Pinto is just 12 laps into the stint. And at 12 laps into the stint, Lulham was setting 59.2s, which is kind of hard to tell where you're running because of lap traffic and stuff, but I don't think Diogo Pinto's that far away. I think if 25 laps into the stint, if he's still not set it, they might bring him in for a final, for some fresh tyres and a final run to the line. But I wouldn't be at panic stations at the moment if you're a Diogo Pinto fan when it comes to setting that fastest lap.
Actually, now that I look,
he might be looking after it now, to be fair.
No, exactly. And now that I look at those times on the left as well, you can see that, lap 10 through 20 for Lulham, it was basically all in the mid 59s with a couple of dip downs into the low 59s as well. So that's a good point. Pinto won't be too scrambled.
Of course, it's a good point. I said it.
No, that's definitely not the case, Mister.
Go on.
The gap's either going to increase, stay where it is, or decrease.
Which I did drop on the broadcast yesterday as well.
I know, but you did do it kind of, at the prodding.
That's true. That is true. Again, it's the most factual statement that I've ever had.
But it was the reason you dropped it is because you said something else that was very factual just before that now I've forgotten.
Yeah, no, same. But it's probably something on the fact of the only reason I won 2 VCO Simi Awards is because I got friends of the panel. But
Friends
yeah,
in high places, yes.
very factual statement. Very factual statement.
Yes.
I feel bad. I'm going to keep prodding that now for the next 3 years.
Oh, I'm never going to let this one go. I hope people are aware of this.
It's just going to come up on random broadcasts every now and then.
I mean, I could be proud of the fact that I didn't win my Simi Award thanks to my friends in high places.
No, did you? Didn't?
I won a popularity contest.
I was going to say, didn't you win it because of the amount of people that you got to vote for your work?
Okay, to be fair, actually, no. I didn't actually get anyone at work to vote for me because I legitimately, at my previous company, tried to stay as quiet about sim racing as possible.
Okay.
Whereas now at my new company, which is very small compared to my last company, which is 1,500 people, this is like 200 people. This time, you best believe, I'm posting that Simi Award link for everybody to see.
Yeah, meanwhile, I don't think people in the restaurant really care because I think the restaurant's it's only got about 40 people in it, if max.
So it's your restaurant versus my office. That's what's happening.
If you try and get the kitchen to do anything other than what is the minimum requirement, they'll look at you and they'll say something in Polish, which I definitely can't repeat on this broadcast, even though I'm well aware as to what they've said. Big one.
Okay, well, fortunately, that's not the Polish driver, Przemysław Leminek. That's Jakub Kiłakowski that's had a big moment down through 130R, and Polish world champion, Przemysław Leminek as well. Very off topic.
No, see, again, every time I'm thinking of Polish words, I'm like, no, you can't say that. No. Spoko Loco? Spoko Loco?
What does that mean?
Cool.
Oh, okay, that's a very long way of saying cool.
Yeah, it's more like probably close to cool beans.
Gotcha.
I guess.
Okay.
Jenks. It's Pinglish.
Interesting.
Polish English.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Before people think you said something else, just clarify.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Dziękuję bardzo or something like that. It's like, thank you very much. No, I speak a little bit of Polish. I can count to 10. That's the important bit. But no, we're not going to go on to that topic. I mean, do you speak any other languages?
No, I mean, unless we count Java, JavaScript, C#.
Good one.
Unless we want to count those, no. I'm monolingual, and let's be honest, my command of the English language is rudimentary at best.
Oh my god, yeah, no, same. Spoken is I'd say for me, spoken is sort of like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Written.
Oh.
Nah, I can misspell a 3-letter word.
Yeah, you're talking to...
I'm not even dyslexic, by the way.
The articles that I had to write for VCO's Send It, yeah. I'm not great when it comes to writing words down on pieces of paper, as it turns out.
I actually have a copy of VCO Send It on my desk right now.
I have 3 copies of VCO Send It.
On your desk right now?
On my desk.
Exactly.
On my bookshelf next to me.
Exactly. I've got it right here. And it's actually a copy that's not even been touched. So that's a good sign, isn't it? The ones that have been touched is rent downstairs.
I got sent about 5 or 6 from Florian, and there's a couple that I've kept as... These aren't being touched. These are...
Yeah.
Let's not forget how cool that project was. VCO Send It, a print magazine for a digital world. Mainly because they got to let you and me argue and just get paid to argue for a little bit.
I'm trying to find out where that page is actually. I've just opened it up and I've seen
it's not as important
face of Jimmy's face.
I was going to say it's not as important as some of the other things in there. Jimmy's face, my article on what the biggest sim race in the world is.
Which I feature on it, it's fine.
You do feature in it. Honestly, maybe I should send Florian a message after this and say, can I post the other article that I wrote for Send It that never got posted, as Alexander Thieber passed the damaged car of Aaron Vasquez, who's still running despite now having no front hood on his BMW M4 GT3. A bit of a parachute, all things considered, but we keep talking to some of these people about how many hours do you think sim racers do in preparation for a race. I did an article for edition 2 of Send It, which didn't end up getting dropped, which was about the rise of the full-time sim racer back in 2021. I think that would be a quite interesting thing to contrast it back to 2023 and how the world of a full-time sim racer looks right now.
I'm also curious on I've now found the page. Obviously, our first discussion was on right versus wrong. It's a great title, obviously. Was we picked what team we thought was the best team in sim racing.
Who did you pick again?
Do you remember who you picked?
I'm pretty sure I was Coanda, you were Redline.
It's true. It's very true, and I stand by that.
I stand by... okay.
Yeah. Go on. Stand by Coanda. No, it's fine.
No, I can't. Sorry if you guys are listening over in Gronau, but you need to race a little bit more to be up there. Sorry, I've said it.
Which was my main argument.
It was.
Thank you.
But it's gotten worse since then, is the thing.
Yeah, well, I don't think it does.
No, I think because 2021 we still used to somewhat regularly see Coanda in like special events, as an example. 2021, didn't we commentate on them in the Sprint Masters, SEO Sprint Masters?
Yeah, I think
was that 2020.
That might have been 20. No, it's 2021 because it was the Olympic Games.
So then I think in 2021, Coanda versus Redline, you can go either side of the argument, and I'm not going to be too fussed either way. I think now, if you put those two teams next to each other, I would push heavily for one of them.
Yeah, and like I say, I mean, look, we love ourselves, a little bit of Coanda. We want them racing a little bit more. We know they've got the speed to take it. That's not the problem. The fact that we don't see them enough. That whilst I still maintain, and it is probably more of a controversial opinion because there are so many other good teams, we ride aboard a fairly damaged Aaron Vasquez after that incident going down out of 130R, trying to find his way past the apex racing car. Whilst there's a lot of examples of other teams that maybe you could throw into it, obviously Urano, go get that wiper going. You got Urano, you got obviously Apex for the year they've been having. You can still maybe chuck them in. I still maintain the top two teams really is still kind of Coanda and Redline, even though I'm almost a bit more reluctant to put Coanda up there. And the only reason I would is because Coanda is, in my opinion, still like the only team. If they were taking part in a full-time championship with Redline, they're like the only team that could consistently take it to Redline over like over a year, basically.
Hey, I don't disagree with you there. And I think we are pretty aligned in that case. I will just say I'll take full credit for bringing Coanda back to the world of iRacing in IMSA. It's been great to have them there, let's be honest. Lauren Heinrich, Ian Chinguven, Zach Campbell, Charlie Collins, you combine the best of sim racing, the best of real motorsport as well, and they're not even the fastest in the particular car that they're running necessarily all the time. Even though in the prototype category I think that is the case, in the GT it's maybe not. We saw Alters very quick last time out, of course. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else has a real stake to the claim of top team in sim racing, because that has to be thought of across of simulators. That's the thing.
Yes. Lewis. Yeah. This is the whole thing of like why I was going with Redline is because they're not just quick on iRacing, they're quick everywhere. And so when you like, especially with what's happened recently, because we were kind of like there was another few teams like thrown near it, like R8G for example. R8G have a decent track record across multiple sims. But now they don't take part in iRacing at all. So for me, that kind of like almost completely removes them from the discussion.
I mean, two-time ESL R1 team champions, right?
Yeah.
Spring and fall, so that's pretty major. But like you say,
they were. Sorry, Redline were the
were they?
Spring champions, yeah, they were. It was Team Redline.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Marcel Chinchik won the drivers for R8G. And then, of course, they have won. They've dominated this one. But still, the point is because they're really strong on that, but I still wouldn't have them as like in like that top five probably, yeah, maybe. But I still probably wouldn't have them in the top 5 best team in sim racing, just because it's like, yeah, but they don't take part in other platforms.
Fair.
Very much.
Also because their livery has gotten objectively worse over the years rather than better over the years. We've talked about that a lot in the world of BMW esports. Yep. So we don't need to revisit that conversation. Who else is up there? I
think Williams definitely.
I was going to say Williams. But who
Williams
else?
Definitely are, because Williams are strong across all platforms. It's where that's one of the arguments that goes against Apex.
Apex has started to branch out a little bit more.
But they're good on 2 platforms.
What's the other platform they're good on?
Rennsport.
Kevin Ellis Jr. is very good. The other team has been maybe less consistent, but I see what you mean.
Jamie's won a major.
Jamie has won. Oh.
Johan's had plenty of podiums. Like the 3 of those have been very impressive.
It's just Elvis that you thrown onto the bus there, yes.
Sorry, but look, no, they've been very, very good this season.
Gotcha.
But the point is like it's iRacing where they are definitely one of the top teams. There is no question about that. Rennsport, where they sort of are. I'd argue that they're definitely one of the top teams. To be fair, there's 12 of the top teams in that. Crazy. But then where else? You don't see them on ACC. You don't see them on R52. So it's just... Can you throw them into that topic?
We've seen them a bit in the world of ERL and not always with the most luck. Poor Jamie as well has not always enjoyed his time out of the iRacing bubble. But yeah, there was a brief moment there, by the way, where the RMS BMW was on the grass as Williams Esports Razor and Team Redline came around to put another lap down. And so that was just a bit of a nervy moment for them as Gianni Vecchio, still with the 5-second time penalty, of course, lingering in the back of mind, puts the pressure onto Sammy Matty. Trogan has the lunge up the inside, and Trogan gives room and allows the 71 to get on through, recognizing 20 minutes to go. As long as it doesn't get 5 seconds clear of me, 4th position, still mine.
Indeed, and also whilst we quickly just revisit the light topic of maybe Diogo Pinto going for a fast lap. He's approaching 20 laps into his stint, by the way. And again, he needs to set a 708 or better, really, to set the fastest lap. So he's closing in on the point where that is going to be possible. Although I will say, with 10 minutes left to go, I wouldn't necessarily be mind blown to see his car in the pit lane. But of course, they've got to accept, by the way, that if they do that, if they bring him into the pit lane to set the fastest lap of the race on a fresh set of tyres, it will cost the team quite a bit of money, because he probably won't be on the podium.
Yes, it is $1,000 split across the winners in the class. $500 for second and $250 for third place. Redline would still get a double podium even if they do that, but that is something just to keep in mind. There is also the fact that Josh Thompson's been closing, so has Diogo maybe actually been just saving the tyres so that he doesn't have to come down to pit lane and he can just push in maybe the final 10 minutes. Surely.
Like, if that, yes, I know that they're ready, that, like, if that is the case. But like you say, $1,000 is, it's not something to turn your nose up at. And like you say, as much as the team, like theoretically speaking, the team would, as a whole, would lose, $250, because at the moment they're getting $1,000 and $500, and then if they pitted the 20, they'd be getting $1,000 and $250. That's between drivers, whatever. So it's like, theoretically, that's the cost for the team. So, read
how much
into that
money would they
will.
lose? Sorry, I just want to understand your math again.
So, at the moment, they're getting $1,000 for first.
Yes.
$500 for second.
Correct, agreed.
And if they pit the 20, they'll be getting $1,000 for first and $250 for third. Thus, they would be losing technically $250.
They wouldn't be getting third, though.
Oh, because the penalty. Actually,
yes.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, completely forgot about that.
I was thinking about that. I was just like, wait, something doesn't add up there. And yes, so
forgot about that.
There's actually quite a lot at play here, because Johnny Vecchio,
I wouldn't pit.
I wouldn't pit either. The thing is as well, ultimately, the team could just say, even if Diogo and Chris don't actually, quote-unquote, tie for the championship, they could just split the money evenly.
Yeah, of course, which I'm sure they probably kind of would do anyway. But at the same time, it's like, you do want to finish them on the same point. But even if they pit, right, it does not guarantee the fastest lap. Oh, dear.
Well, this is a car that...
Florian?
Yeah, Florian had the issue earlier, and don't tell me there's been more issues, because that's not good.
That's broken. That is broken. The rear right's, I think, popped off. That was a severely damaged car. He'd already used the fast repair.
Was that turn one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's going to be fast, isn't it? Here we go.
Yep,
Talk us through it.
Well, we've obviously got one of the LMDhs coming down the inside, going for a gap that really wasn't there. I think, like, the thing is Florian already kind of committed to the apex, and I think there was netcode as well between them. There might not have been, but it was quite a low angle because our broadcast directors picked the complete wrong one for that instance. Sorry, mate. But we'll have a look on board, and let's see once again. Well, I mean, to be fair, even though there was a netcode, that was definitely going to be a crash. That was very, very silly from the TC Corsa Esports car.
Was the prototype making the corner?
Not on that angle, probably not. No, that was really silly.
So
that was so unneeded.
Right, like, you've got to brake before you actually turn right is the thing, and I don't think that car's making the corner, but I could be wrong. The other thing that I did note, by the way, is if we can grab a look at the rear, note the not only the fact that the right rear is not moving, but the entire rear diffuser has been removed from the car. That's
a shame. Like I say, there was nothing they could do in that one. That was rough. Like I say, it was a very silly move. Like committing that late in T1, so unnecessary as well. Because if you break a little bit earlier and carry the speed from the corner, it's not ideal, but it is very possible and kind of simple to get the GT3 on the run between 1 and 2 in that section. You can just like scoot back on it. It's a bit risky, yes, but at this level they're kind of good enough to do that. And it's much better than a last minute big send into the first corner, which was never going to work in 1,000 years. Especially
important given that, well, we talked about some penalties that Race Control has been divvying out. We saw 2 bits of contact for Satellite Racing's LMDh in the S's, and would you be surprised to hear 2 penalties, Lewis, coming their way?
Yeah, it's not a shock at all. It's probably going to cost them the final point, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. As I was saying, by the way, whilst we're kind of midpoint on that one, about Diego Pinto and it not guaranteeing them fastest lap, it's because traffic, right? They could pit right now, they could stick some fresh tyres on, and they could give themselves quite a few laps to the end of the race. But if you're trying to go through like the Degners or whatever, and an LMDh throws it up the inside, that's that lap's gone, right? They've dived down the inside of the hairpin, that's that lap gone. They've made a move going through the S's. Yep, that's that lap gone. Getting a clean lap at this point in the race is really, really hard.
You can see those lap times on the left side of the screen. It's been a couple of occasions where Diogo was flirted with some pretty impressive lap times. Of course, lap 51, the 58.927 will stand on out. And last time by, yeah, 58.805. The pace is starting to ratchet up.
He's got the pace to do it, and like you say, this is the 22nd lap, I believe, of the stint. This is the one that we saw the fast lap being set on board with Lulham a little bit earlier on. That's the lap time it needs to beat. So 22nd lap in the stint as we re-graffiti the car, preparing it, of course. Team Redline looking to have first locked between both the drivers, Pinto and Lulham. This could be the lap to decide it.
It's a great shot as well, up through into the Degners, where you'll just see there's some grass being carried onto the track. These drivers are so committed to using every bit of asphalt that they can. Run yourself over the exit curve down through the second part of the Degner, let the LMDh file up the inside in towards the hairpin, square it up under braking, allow another one up the inside, and that's going to cost you some time, and that's what Lewis has been talking about when it comes to not necessarily the mistakes from this car that are going to cost it maybe some time and the potential fastest lap. It could just be those around trying to fight like a Satellite and RD are doing for the final point, like Lewis was mentioning.
Yep, so we've got a little bit to play for. 12 minutes left to go in the race. Things look fairly settled for Williams Esports, the LMDh category, which is great to see. There's been a bit of a while coming for those to take a victory, especially with the fine. But yes, with their run in the previous round where they looked so strong and so comfortable. But alas, we'll see how this battle unfolds and how things are placed through on this one. Were Williams the one that took victory at Road Atlanta?
Yes.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I thought so. Yes, it was Farrow and Ladd on that occasion. So they're looking for a second win of the season. But it's nice to restore it, especially with a 1-2.
You said you had all the race results written
down. I had to flick through my notebook when I had to go back to the previous round. I had to flick through all the results of like British Formula 4 and ESLR1 and all IMSA and all those kinds. All the broadcasts that I've done. Because I'm just something, I don't know, science.
Yeah, there are a lot of broadcasts.
Campagnato, Sudamericano Esports. Got notes for that as well.
You said it without the accent. I'm quite impressed.
Thank you. Well, that's because I didn't want Hugo Luis to listen and get really irritated. Also, I didn't want to start thinking about those CSI Miami Zoom levels that we were requiring for the broadcast. Oh, dear. Goodness me. Well, let's see who's going to win this category. I think, has Pinto started backing up a little bit to maybe look after the tyres once more?
I think he's doing another back off to try and push again on a subsequent lap. But yes, we'll steer away from the...
Yeah, well, we're not going to go down the topic of that broadcast, but it was pretty good. It's also early in the morning for our genius who's got no control right now.
That was one of the broadcasts of all time, and it came after a very long travel day as well, which is why I had no control on that occasion either. Now, Josh Thompson 1.6 off the back. This is where you were saying, though, team games. We're not necessarily expecting there to be a swap around between these two. Having said that, though, could we see some draft games coming into play?
Yeah, I mean, look, if they're that desperate, then yeah, maybe. You know, like I say, right now, realistically speaking, if they want to make sure it's still the 20 winning and the 70, they could switch it around, give a little bit of a draft, and then switch it back around. If not, they could just sell Josh to back off a little bit. If not, to be fair, Diogo Pinto could be on a mega lap right now and could be in the cast of potentially setting that fast lap. You can see the best lap of the event, and of course of this car being that 58.709 in the bottom left.
And so we'll see if it's going to be a good lap this time by. I'm not sure it is going to be.
No.
I mean, it's not that bad, all things considered. It's right around the ballpark of where you want to be consistently, but Diogo Pinto's searching for purple, not for green. He's searching for a 58.708 or better with 9 minutes to go. Where's your race leader? That's probably an important question. That's a Williams Esports car. That's not the leader, though. That was Agustin Canapino, who's dropped almost full 10 seconds off the back of Matt Farrow in that number 11. And so as he winds up out of the first sector of the lap, 9 minutes to go. I think we've got 5 laps to go after this, maybe.
Yeah, it should be around the 5 lap mark, which is obviously plenty of opportunities. Diogo Pinto would be able to do all 5 of those. And to be fair, the final lap should be a little less busy when it comes to traffic as well, because there'll be obviously less coming around behind you, so it might come down to that final lap. But do you really want that 1 point to be decided by that final lap? That's a little. You're leaving a lot on the table and a lot to be done on that one last lap.
Yes. But these are the drivers that I guess can deal with the pressure.
Oh yeah.
Just don't put us in that sort of pressure, please.
No, I used to actually be really good in qualifying. I used to be very good.
Really?
In Super Pole qualifying as well. Single lap qualifying. Yeah, I used to be really consistent. And I don't know what happened, but I was really consistent right up until I wasn't. And it wasn't just one round where I just stopped being consistent in qualifying. I used to have it where I would genuinely, all the qualifying sessions that I did were all like 20-minute sessions.
Right.
And every single one, I would set my personal best lap on the last lap. Every single time. Right? And I was like, this is perfect. This is great. I'm a qualifying driver. Whatever. As we see a bit of a moment. Yeah, it's easy done. We've seen quite a few do that. But yeah, now, I can barely even breathe in a qualifying session. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Right. It's the pressure. It's the... yeah, now that sounds like me in qualifying, to be fair. Although I used to qualify back in the day on iRacing when we used to crawl around on our outlaps at about 20 kilometers an hour. And so practicing for qualifying was about as painful as actually qualifying was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my racing driver excuse. How about that? 59.137 last time by for Diogo Pinto and Team Redline, so he still needs to find a good 0.4 of a second right now. He's not going to have too many better chances than this, I feel. You look at that track map, there's some traffic closing from behind, but plenty of clean air to enjoy right now.
No, looking at where that traffic is, I mean, you can see that he's probably going to get an awkward spot, maybe just on the exit of the Degners, maybe, but nothing too major. We'll have to wait and see on that one. We might see one pop round in the background in just a moment's time, but it might be on the exit of the hairpin. Actually, no, maybe I was just looking at the track map wrong, fair enough. But... like you say, at the moment, things are really solid right now. This kind of has to be the lap. I think the only reason he didn't get it on the previous lap, by the way, was because he did have a bit of lap traffic in the S's.
I've got a metric, is kind of how I describe it, about what the pace that the drivers are doing relative to the best lap. Right now, it's tracking dead even with a 58.7. This could be it.
If he doesn't get it this lap, I'm pretty sure you'll see this car slow down for 3 minutes, for 3 laps, or 2 laps.
Because if they come into pit lane now, they're basically dropping out of the top 10, such as the delta on pit lane. That isn't an option. He has pulled a slight margin to Josh Thompson this lap. It was, what, 1.5, 1.6 seconds. It's now 1.8. Just waiting to see at the stripe now.
Yeah, like you say, may need to get a little bit lucky with another lap later on in the session. We'll see what Diogo Pinto could do again. 58.709 to beat. It's we'll see him hold it a tight line, basically a qualifying lap. This is as close as it's going to get. Is it going to be enough? He set a 59.137. It's a 59.750. It's not enough. Oh no!
And so that
back it down
is 40 thousandths of a second that Diogo Pinto has got to find. Can you afford to back it down right now, though? This is not going to be the lap instantly because you got traffic in towards the S's, so... My concern is that if you back it down, yes, you cool the tires off, but do you drop yourself out of the rhythm?
There is that, which is obviously the big risk. But then these drivers are so good at jumping in and out of the rhythm that maybe there is a bit more. This is actually be kind of where, like, if they still went to 21 in the race, this would actually be pretty handy because they could just drop him right back and then have the 21 give the slipstream to the 20.
Yes.
But then, you could maybe say that some of that is in the region of what we saw from a certain other team at Daytona at the start of the year. So, maybe not. As long as they don't take anyone out, it would have been fine. But alas, I don't think that's what they're relying on in the red line camp. Set as fastest lap.
The pace benchmark this time by is already half a second off, so this is definitely not going to be it. I've never been watching the end of a race, watching the end of a season so intently, and just being like, right, are we going to see a fastest lap?
And it kind of like, you're watching it being like, kind of, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be champions regardless. They just want that bonus point so that it's even between the drivers, which, again, I do respect. But, yeah, at the end of the day, it's still going to be Team Redline winning the championship, and realistically, it's still going to be Team Redline winning this race. And yet, still, it is fascinating to see if Diogo Pinto can do it.
Race control update, by the way. TC Corsa have gotten a 20-second penalty for the contact with Florian Lebigra. Not a big shot, I think, to anyone there. It means that Satellite Racing, RD SimSport, and Rockenor Racing all guaranteed to move on forward. Satellite still have their penalty, so RD SimSport and Rockenor Racing might get some points on the board as back across the line. Once again, we just watched these red line drivers in their pursuit for fastest laps. Dominic Hoffman's pursuit, by the way, for Altus Esports has seen him really close on up, and this is a fight for a podium.
Yeah, indeed, and like we say, we've seen the champions do so much work when it comes to their pace, to their speed, to their consistency in the championship, and they've got a couple more efforts to see themselves back on the podium once more. Although this time it won't be in the hands of victory, because that is certainly at the moment going the way of Williams Esports. The Marla leading the Chill Blast. They're into the final sector now to start the penultimate lap of the race, so still plenty of time.
130R, a bit wide for Altus. Hoffman's going to be alongside and on the outside. And Marcos Nunes says, you know what, it's already been an eventful enough race for us. Altus have that penalty as well from the start. And I think Marcos Nunes says, we don't need to fight. We'll let Dominic Hoffman slide his way on forward. That is Diogo Pinto heading up in towards Spoon. And now gets a bit of draw from the Apex Racing team at LMDh car. Margin back to Josh Thompson has opened up once more. He'll get 2 more attempts after this, but he's running out of time to go faster.
What's his pace like on this lap? I don't know if I'm reading. I'm assuming that's based on his previous lap.
0.2 slower is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I thought, because it looks like he's 0.3 faster than his previous lap, which is fine. Which I'd argue is almost a little too fast. If you want to be cooling these tyres down, that's too quick.
I think you're reading that off the timing screen, correct? Timing
yeah,
at
correct.
RaceSpotTV.
Yeah.
I think that is actually the average pace, so it gives you like an indication of is that car performing as expected on a whole, factoring in traffic and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yes, that is a confusing metric to keep an eye on. He's really backed it down, though, at the end of this lap, I can tell you now, because it's going to be a 59.5. That's what he needs to do.
I think they've got the message. They know this is the penultimate lap. Back it down a lot for this lap, and then go on the attack, as we might well see at least them finish 1, 2, and 3 on the road. We'll have to wait and see.
Gianni Vecchio does have a slight time penalty to be handed down at the end of the day, but it's Alexei Nesov on defensive duties. Big wiggle out of that opening corner, the long right-hander. Vecchio still trying to look alongside, but the GT3 stay in line for the time being. With Sami Matitroga and Alexander Thieber slightly further behind them, they're not too concerned just yet that there's going to be any sort of overlap. 2 laps for them to all figure it out.
Yeah, of course, to be fair, it's one of the things we don't really touch on too many times. Whilst that penalty is post-race, that's post-race on our own results. It doesn't affect anything on the iRacing service. And so for Alexei Nesov, he's defending a little bit of IR here. So he wants to keep that I rating as high as possible. So I'm sure he's going to fend off that pesky red line as much as possible. And they still want to at least see it on the score sheets, a 1, 2, 3 for Team Redline. That'd be pretty handy. And it means that, Redline, Verstappen, can't stop winning today.
Guess what?
He's up, down, he's up.
He's up 2 tenths.
Oh, how? He had such a slow run out the final corner.
I don't understand, but Diogo Pinto seems like he's really tracking as we get ready for the final lap of the race. Vecchio alongside Nessoff in through Spoon Curve. Vecchio's got to be careful. We've seen a couple of cars bobble over the exit curb slightly uncomfortably. Somehow they'll get through, leaning on one another, and Vecchio with the bravery around the outside. It's not done just yet, though. They'll be side by side until 130R.
Yeah, let's see how brave you are. See who's wearing the big boy pants at the moment. Alexei Nessoff with the inside. There is going to be the side-by-side between them, but I think we did see Gianni Vecchio just back out a touch as they've got one of those LMDhs joining. Let's see what the time's going to be. It's fast enough.
And so now champions-elect Chris Lullum and Diogo Pinto with that crucial point coming, Lewis, on the penultimate lap of the race.
Yeah, so one more. This is to drink it in. Hey, maybe even improve a little bit further. Of course, it's not done for the final spot on the podium, whilst it's not going to stay there in a post-race courtesy of the penalty. Let's see if there's going to be a move to the inside.
And it all is as so much is going on. Matt Farrow will bring the Williams Esports Marla car to the checkered flag and the victory here at Suzuka, the final round of the BMW M SIM Cup. We'll get that final lap battle between Gianni Vecchio and Alexei Nessoff, except we won't because Nessoff's been disqualified with incident points on the very final lap. Drama all the way to the end of the season. Wow, Lewis, what a 2023 we've had.
Yeah, well, that was a pretty wild end to the race. Like you say, very crazy indeed. And with the 5-second penalty, by the way, because Vecchio is 5 seconds clear of Sami Trogan, it's only just 5 seconds. It could well be a Team Redline 1-2-3 actually legit in the race, as rightfully so, Williams Esports are burning the house down.
Yeah, I don't think any of us realized just how close to the end Matt Farrow and Josh Ladd were, and so they will very much deserve their celebration, and hope we get to chat with them in a few moments' time. But yes, we will be watching the margin. Has Sami Trogan been told in his ear, if you find half a second, we've got a podium on the cards here?
He may not have been. To be fair, I think they were probably sat there being like, well, I hope the Team Redline and the Urano battle a little bit more for a little bit longer. Alas, they didn't, and it is going to be very close to the line. It's now within 2/10 for the advantage of Williams Esports Razor.
Okay, keep an eye on the timing screen on the left-hand side between 3rd and 4th position, but out of the final corner comes Diogo Pinto and Chris Lullum. After an up-and-down start to the season, Diogo Pinto and Chris Lullum found their momentum, found their form, and never looked back. They are the 2023 BMW M SIM Cup champions in the GT3 class, and they sign off in style on top at the very end.
Shockingly enough, it's the two dominant forces in each of their respective categories taking the championship, Urano and Team Redline. It was done before we even got into the final round, but very impressive. Across the line, 5.5 seconds, the gap between the 71 and the 2, meaning it is a Team Redline 1, 2 and 3, obviously before post-race investigations and the such.
Well, what an interesting way to close out the season, and boy, I really hope that some of the drivers can spare a bit of the time, come and chat with us post-race so we can close out what's been an entertaining 2023 BMW M SIM Cup. The first time we've had multi-class madness, and, well, Williams Esports signing off with a 1-2 at the end of 2023. Matt Farrow leads Agustin Canapino by 10 seconds at the end, with Dominic Hoffman in the Urano Esports car, the champion as well. Let's not forget, Danny Lorenzo 1 point back. Co-champions in my mind. Is it 2 points now?
Well, it would be 2 now, wouldn't it?
Yes, fastest lap for Dominic Hoffman on lap 66. Completely slipped my mind, so it just goes to hammer home the point. Altus, Race Clutch, Drago, BS Competition, the Apex Racing Team, TC Corsa, and then RD Simsport, the rest of your top 10. Before you get to those one lap down, Rock'n'Roll Racing, Old Fox Racing, and V10R. Of course, these are still provisional results, although Satellite Racing dropping back in the closing stages after, I think, also hitting the incident limit. Timo Roorda for Movano was the first driver to hit that magic 25x disqualification count before Race Clutch, Urano, and Apex all do not meet the driver classifications for today. In the GT3s, just 4 cars classified on the leading lap, and it is Redline that officially will grab a clean sweep of the podium to close out 2023, with Pinto leading Thompson and Vecchio. Sami Trogan and Williams Esports Razor missed out by the slimmest of margins, about half a second at the end, while Alexei Nessoff will probably have some words to share, just not words, in the broadcast booth. He finishes 5th for the Urano Esports team in front of the second Urano car with Alexander Thieber behind the wheel. Apex down in 7th to close out the season with GrinandGo.com. BS Plus Demon and the Drago Racing cars all making up the rest of the top 10. Drago finishing, of course, with the front end of that car and the engine exposed for the world to see. Team Red X Academy, our large competition, V10R Esports, RMS BMW, and then the Stand Motor, Team Red X, Team Redline, and German Sim Racing teams all round out the race results. And as we take a look top to bottom at that, we can grab a quick word with one driver. Not sure we're going to get the chance to chat with everybody, but Lewis McClay gets the chance to stand by with our race winners, Josh Ladd from the Williams Esports Marla Camp.
Yeah, hi Josh. Obviously, fantastic performance there, an exciting race to see a 1-2 as well for Williams. Got to be a satisfying way to end the 2023 season. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it was a good race. Obviously, we got helped a bit by the carnage at the start, but yeah, me and Jaden could just sort of stretch our legs at the start. I probably could have tried to fight him, but didn't. There was no point to do that. So just sort of sat behind him and saved a bit of fuel. He was saving fuel as well, and then he obviously had his incident, and he did a great job to actually get it into the pits. To be honest, that was really impressive. And then yeah, we were ahead in the second stint, and I could make a gap, but then I just didn't really want to push anyone in traffic, trying to avoid getting a penalty. And the gap grew a bit, and then towards the end of the stint, it came back to about a second and a half, and then Matt just did a great job just to bring it home, really, in a clean way. It was pretty tricky with the traffic here.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is probably maybe the first, maybe the second hardest. So obviously when you account for someone like Zandvoort and stuff, when it comes to navigating traffic, at least that's how it feels kind of in the commentary bits. We saw a lot of drivers come a cropper of various issues, particularly in the S's section. Were there any like really big close calls for you, or was it really played safe from almost from the word go?
It was pretty. I was just pretty safe. Just waiting when I needed to wait. There was one close call where there were like two GTs right behind each other, going into the first corner on the S's, and I think the one which was ahead didn't see me because they couldn't see me in their mirror, and almost wiped me out. But crisis was avoided there, fortunately.
And finally, before we let you go, let's have a little bit of a recap, a little bit on the year, on the season. Kind of racing these cars, a sort of new era of sports car racing, which is so much fun to see and to be a part of it in this sense. How much have you enjoyed it? And also, what are the expectations moving forward into the new year? Are we going to see you racing in these quite a bit?
Yeah, it's been a good year. It's kind of been a year of like missed opportunity. In this and in the special events. Me and Matt obviously won Pussy Le Mans, which is great to actually get a win in a special event. And then we also won Road Atlanta at the same week basically. So that was great. It's unfortunate we couldn't challenge for the championship. I think I've had to miss 2 races, but still would have maybe been a bit far off because we had a few incidents and stuff in the early part of the season. But yeah, having 2 cars now with Jaden and Augustin has been really helpful with these last few races.
Well, obviously pass on our congrats on the commentary booth to Matt, and congratulations to yourself. A very well-deserved victory in our season finale.
Yes.
Nice little catch up there with Josh Ladd. Good to hear as well the thoughts over the season, and quite rightly points out that it's always easier, Lewis, when you've got multiple cars out there, not necessarily talking about the racing, the preparation, understanding strategy, setup, everything you need to go fast in these races.
I think also there's a thing when when you're around your team and your teammates are performing to kind of like the same level as you, it almost makes it easier to perform to that level because you're not feeling like you're so against it. It's just like, oh, it's always me here, and where are my teammates? Whatever. It's so good to have that camaraderie, to have that pace where you're all fairly close. Obviously, you've got more data to throw around, but finishing first and second, kind of being on the podium with team, it kind of gives that extra little boost, and it does show that the team itself generally is moving in the correct direction in this car, which I think is going to be a staple piece in the future of sim racing.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, let's We haven't talked too much about IMSA Esports today. We steered away from it. What a wild opening 2 races we've had. 2 more still left to come, and of course the BMW M Hybrid V8 takes center stage alongside the other 3 IMSA GTP cars available. We've had a great 2023 though, Lewis. At the start of the year we weren't sure what form the series would take. Ultimately, multi-class racing was as chaotic as I think we all expected. And I look back on the season and I think of some of the great racing we've had and hope that we get to do it again with just as great a schedule.
Absolutely, it's exciting. It's always thrilling to do this. We've done this kind of basically together for the last 2 and a bit, 3 years. So I think it's two and a bit. It feels like a decade. I'm not going to lie. But no, it's obviously great to see BMW's continuing involvement in the world of sim racing. But to be able to do this every now and then throughout the year, it's always something a little bit spicy. The racing's for the most part is quite interesting. If not, we enter full podcast mode and put the world to right. So. Yeah, there's that at least.
There's always that, and let's not forget, of course, that BMW have been so committed to the world of sim racing since joining up in 2019 effectively with the inaugural BMW Sim Live. We're not going to have that end-of-year celebration this year, and so the champions have been awarded. Urano Esports in the LMDh class, Dominic Hoffman and asterisk next to the name of Danny Lorenzo, but very much still the champion, yes. And then, of course, for Team Redline, Chris Lullum, Diego Pinto, they walk away with the championship prize. And, of course, the prize pools paid per race as well, $50,000. And what a wild way to cap off the year here at the land of the rising sun. Suzuka always knows how to crown a champion, and it didn't disappoint here today. It's time to say goodbye, though, for the final time in 2023 for the entire team at BMW Sim Racing, the entire team at RaceSpot, and for everyone that's joined us along the way. For Lewis McClay, joining myself, Arjuna Kankipati, we thank you so much for joining us across the 2023 BMW M SIM Cup and the multi-class madness. Don't forget to stay connected to the world of BMW Motorsport on social media, and hopefully we'll be back in 2024 with some more great racing. Congratulations to Urano and Redline, and indeed to everyone that's been a part of this journey in 2023.